Hey there, you wonderful listeners. I have a question for you. Do you want to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily and then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place and for free. How can you beat that? It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here is how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, there are Q&A and poll options available, and those are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I've discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it has made doing my shows like the Steam Machine Podcast, Yabs Pod, and the JRPG Report much, much easier to do. Like being able to just go on there, record them, upload it, boom, it's done. I don't have to pay for a site service to host or anything like that. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. This week on the Steam Machine Podcast, trails in the sky keep on turning. Cue the music. I love the fact that nobody can see us when we're doing the intro to this show, and we all still dance like the music's actually playing.
Yeah, we literally don't even have music we hear. We just do it.
Yeah, we just do it because I don't know why.
Because we're cool.
I always do stupid meme dances from 25 years ago, like the Macarena or the Batusi.
Hey, girl, let me see that Batusi.
30 seconds to curse, new record.
Welcome back to the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton. I'm leaving all of that in. and joining me, as always, are the Destructo Bros.
Oh, yeah, sorry. My brain went places there. We're on top of this game today. Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's Nate.
Hi, my name's Nate. Oh, shit. Fuck, damn it. I'm Willie.
And this is the first ever Steam Machine Revisited.
Hell yeah.
What? It's going to show up in your episode thing like normal, though, but just know that it is a revisit. Gentlemen, how have you been the past 2 weeks?
Not too bad, man. Got to plan in a vacation because my birthday's coming up next month. And
whoop.
Yeah, so I'm going on vacation the week of the 17th, which is my birthday. And I'll be going to Disney World, so I'll be able to report back on some fun Disney adventures when I get back. It is going to interrupt the podcast schedule a little bit, so I think there's going to be 1 week where y'all play the game on your own. If the Discord's really good, I might do a Destructo Disc B-Sides, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that,
hell yeah,
just been a pretty good couple weeks of work, and been trying to get back on my fitness garbage lately. I don't know what happened. The temperature dropped, and my motivation levels for life have risen. Like, I just feel so much more full of energy and motivated to do things than I have in like 3 months. So let's hope that stays.
My theory on this is conditioning from, like, Nate, you were a big, like, do a lot of shit boy in high school and college. So I think that your brain is like, it's fall semester, it's time to get back on my activities. I got to go to the SAC, or what? It's not called the SAC. What was the gym called at Western?
You can come in my SAC if you want.
That's anatomically difficult.
I don't remember the name of the gym. That's sad. I'm old now. That was like That was over 10 years ago.
I remember what building the gym. I guess I remember it being called the SAC at U of L because you never forget the SAC. That's such a hilarious name. The moment you're told the Student Activity Center is called the SAC, you're like, oh, that's in my brain for the rest of time.
And the place we do, like, have a lot of like gatherings, because where the SGA office was, and our fraternity would have our Sunday meetings there. It was called the Downing University Center, which we called Duck. So we'd go to the Duck.
Yay, I like that too. That's really cute.
That's
the Duck. Ducks go quack. Ducks fight again.
Yeah, I think there was something to that too. Like, because I was like asking myself, is there such a thing as reverse seasonal affective disorder? Because I know people get sad when it starts getting cold. I get happier when fall comes around. Like, and I think it might also have to do with the fact, you know, I'm an October birthday guy, so I love Halloween and all that kind of stuff. So like, I get super stoked when everything starts to get crisper outside. I'm so excited for the leaves to change colors. Like, I could gush over fall all day, so I'm gonna stop talking.
I'm with you though. The last couple of days I've stepped outside and it's been like 40 or 50 degrees at night, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
It's pretty chilly here right now too. Here in Florida.
Yeah, dude, tell us your experience.
You want to tell us about Florida weather or something?
Florida, my guy, because it's been on the news.
Yeah, Hurricane Ian rolled through. It was pretty intense at some points, but it's not the worst storm I've ever lived through by any means. I do a shout out to anybody who was affected by the storm, like right by where it hit, because I think Fort Myers, got hit pretty fucking hard by it. But by the time it made it up north to us, it had calmed down quite a bit. But still, I tried, Discord's stupid. I tried to send a video to Discord, and even with Nitro, it would have been too big. So I was like, fuck you, Nitro, you're not getting my money. But I sent it to my friend Megan, and I was like, this is what it's doing here right now, because she lives in Lakeland, which is roughly 3 hours from here, right? So like she's down there, and so she's like sending me videos of the wildness that was going on out there by her, just with the wind blowing the trees around and stuff, and all the rain. And there's been a lot of rain and a lot of wind, but nothing super major. Like, we didn't have any trees go down or anything this time, so
that's good. Yeah, like, it was so crazy because we were so pumped to record this podcast last night, and then Dalton's like, I don't have internet.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it was like 5 or 6 p.m. The internet just goes gone. And it did not return until, was it maybe 12:30?
Yeah.
That night when I was like, hey, I have internet. Like, you had just said Comcast sucks ass or something like that, and I was like, hey, I have internet.
Yeah, so we had back-to-back delays because I've had some health issues this week, and I didn't get around to the game finishing the game until late yesterday, and then we were so stoked that we were going to be able to get recording, and then as I was wrapping up the game, Dalton's internet was dying, basically.
It was such crappy timing.
Yeah, it was really shitty. But it seems to be working so far today. And like I said, the storm's kind of calmed down. I'm pretty sure I have to go back to work tomorrow. So
I would think so, because I think it's past your area now, because from what I've heard, the storm is kind of inching its way out of Florida, going back to open waters, and then it's going to swing back around, hit full hurricane status again, and slam into North Carolina.
What? Oh, that sucks.
Dude,
so bad.
Hurricane Ian hates Gabspod.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Right? This is a targeted attack. Yo, what? You pissed off Weather Wizard, Flash villain.
I don't know how. I mean, unless it was some...
It's probably because we did games on every other... We talked about Spider-Man villains and Batman villains, and we didn't name any Flash villains, and we pissed him off.
Well, if the Flash could be put in a good game...
Show them!
Maybe. I don't know.
I can't imagine what a Flash game
Sonic
would be
Frontiers.
like. Yo, actually, you might be on
I don't know, man. In my mind, a Flash game is like going on Newgrounds and playing like Skull Kid.
You son of a bitch. I don't know. I feel like maybe one of those open world urban type games, except you would have the streaky movement, you've seen the TV show clips where he's running between city blocks. He takes the hard right turns and keeps on running. That could be kind of fun.
Yeah, I can tell you how they do it in DC Universe, because when you make your character, you have a choice of super speed, of gliding, or flight. I always go flight, but super speed basically is you run really fast, and then you can run up the sides of buildings and things like that. So it's basically just zipping around. I will say the fun thing about super speed...
I was going to say, it seems like...
go ahead.
It seems like flight would be the obvious choice if it weren't for the fact you can run up buildings. Now I'm a little bit more confused, because it seems like gliding is just bad flight, right?
It's kind of... How do I explain it? It's kind of like bad flight, yeah.
It's like Batman.
A weird mix. Yeah, kind of. Except you can hit this thing, and it will level you off, and you'll fly at that same distance, or that same level. And then they also have ones that you can pay for, like skimming and other things like that. But Those I won't count those, but those are the best. And I think the one that's like the gliding is called Acrobat. So you can like speed run. You're not like running fast, but you're like you can run up the sides of buildings and stuff.
Okay, dude. I still think like for mobility, Spider-Man handled that so the best. Like Spider-Man's like the coolest superhero for that reason because they found a way to make a superhero that didn't have flight, didn't have super speed, but still had this amazing sense of mobility that like only could be done with something like web slinging. Like Spider-Man's so cool. Sorry.
Yeah, man. So
that game has been living in my head rent free. Like this weekend before my ankle got all goofed up, I was doing a lot of deliveries because I needed to make a phone bill, and I was just working like 2 shifts a day for several days in a row. And every time I was downtown, the moment I saw a building that was more than like 4 stories tall, I'm just like, I want to flip up onto that roof and start swinging around like IRL.
Man, yeah,
just fantasizing.
I hope that after like enough time has passed that they do release Miles Morales onto Steam. And then I do believe that they're working on a second Spider-Man game, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, this whole new Sony actually putting out games on PC has got me a little excited.
Yeah, man, because it was like, what were the first ones that they did? They released like, I think it was like Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. And it sold bukus. Who would have thought?
Right.
And then they released God of War, and it sold bukus. Who would have thought? It's just...
No,
like, dude,
I want to play God of War. I've never played a God of War game, so like I really want to play that at some point.
Ooh.
And I feel like releasing these hasn't cost Sony any prestige. Like, you still think of them as PlayStation games first. Like, I feel like I still think of PlayStation as having these games.
And, like, when you load them up, one of the opening load screens is PlayStation Studios usually. So, like, they remind you, motherfucker, this is us. A PlayStation. Yeah, I'm hoping that they port over Ghost of Tsushima, the samurai game, because I'm all about katanas and samurai and stuff. I love that shit. But dude, God of War, the newest one, it's way different than the older ones. Like the older ones were very much like hack and slashy, like Devil May Cry, almost like that style of game. Whereas these newer ones are very much more methodical combat, having to block, dodge, like more Soulsy, but less punishing than Souls games, I guess.
I feel like I'd
still really
that.
cool though.
I feel like I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I think you would like the weight behind the hits. You know what I mean? Like you did with Batman, where it feels crunchy.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that I keep talking about Spider-Man and Batman. Sorry, but like that was the one thing about Batman that I like. That's the one thing I liked about Batman more than Spider-Man was how violent. Like I guess is the word. It felt the combat felt like so much more solid in Batman than in Spider-Man.
That's funny because I preferred Spider-Man because the combat felt light and punchy. Like I was just superheroing around and comic booking people to death. Well, not to death, to webs. Sorry, we're going to have Batman Spider-Man on our brains for a while. It's a good thing we didn't jump right into Yakuza or we would not be talking about anything other than punching people in cities.
Yeah, man. Other than the hurricane, I've just been up to playing Wrestling Empire. So I got to tell you guys, since the chronicles of my controller not working with this game.
Oh yeah.
So I have like 60 something hours in the Wrestling Empire. I've killed so many people, so many.
You really have. Like you keep sending us screenshots, and we're like, no, why is Brian Pillman dead?
Dude, like, well, some of them just died on their own. But some of them were very much like they talked shit to me backstage, and we got into a backstage fight, and I guess I hit them with the wrong pile driver 7 times in a row, and they just like pass out, and it's like they were found and couldn't be resuscitated. Whoops. And
he fell into my pile driver.
I'm waiting on M. Dickey to actually like code in something where the cops could actually figure out that it's you, because so far, unless my luck has just been real good, every time it tells me that the police are investigating, nothing ever comes of it.
Nice.
It's like Bruiser Brody all over again, but just every time.
Damn. From my understanding of M. Dickey and his coding practices, this is probably pretty close to intentional.
Yeah. So all of a sudden my controller just stopped working with it, and I was like, "What in the fuck?" And I went into the controller menu on the game, and I'm looking. And I'm like, I pull it up, it just says the controller's disconnected. And I'm like, no, it's obviously connected. Like, I went down there, I unplugged it, plugged it back in. All this stuff. Restarted my computer. Loaded up the game again. After an hour or so of trying to figure out what was going on with it. Opened up the controller menu again. Saw this button at the top that said refresh. Clicked that button. Guess who won the pony? And the fucking controller just magically showed up. So... from the very fucking beginning, had I just went to that and actually like looked at the top of the screen instead of just looking at where it said my controller wasn't there, I would have seen refresh and I'd have just clicked that and been like, oh, good to go.
Man. Because I know you sent us a few messages like, why is this not working? Dude,
it was driving me crazy. And that was just, it was one of those situations where like when you're really looking for something and it's right in front of your face, but you just keep looking over it. It's like it just bleeds into everything else in your brain. That happens to me at work all the time when customers ask me like, where is this particular item that comes in a small box in the first aid section? And I'm like, I hope you find it. And I just have to like shoot my eyes around, looking around like, where the fuck is it?
It is such a funny feeling because like as a person that goes to like a Walgreens and sometimes asks somebody where things is, they're like, oh, it should be over here. I'll help you find it. And you could tell, oh, they have just as little clue about where this is as I do. And then you can't even be like, it's okay, man, I'll find it. You just gotta like, no, now I know their pride's at stake. I have to let them be the one that finds it.
I don't know if it's just that I don't have pride or what, but when I can't find that shit, I'm like, hold on, let me go find you somebody who will know exactly where this is at, because I'm still kind of new here. I have no idea. Like, I had a lady ask me where the BC powder was, and I said, well, let's go look. So I took her over to the area where I figured BC powder would be at, because that's where all the other stuff is at. Yeah. And we looked and we looked and we looked and couldn't find it. And one of my shift leads come walking by and I said, hey, where's BC powder? We don't carry that. Well, there's your answer, man. It's like, that's why we don't have it. We were looking for no reason. When'd you stop carrying it? Like 2 years ago. Okay. Gotcha.
We do carry aspirin that hasn't been hit with a mallet, which is the same stuff.
Yeah, some people just want to snort that BC powder.
Fucking.
Isn't it just aspirin and caffeine? Isn't that just, not Bufford, Anacin?
Excedrin? No, you're right, Anacin.
Excedrin, that's the one.
Excedrin is the...
Excedrin and Anacin, both are the same thing. And Excedrin, they just market for migraines and Anacin for headaches, but it's the same thing. I think Excedrin has more caffeine per aspirin.
I do want to bring up the fact that I realized that Walgreens sells toys. And I don't mean toys for children. Like, they sell toys.
Oh, really?
I was blocking this one area and or resetting, whatever you want to call it, pulling stuff forward to make it look nice. And like I did the condoms and then I noticed there was lube and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I'm fixing that. And then I go over next and I'm pulling these boxes forward and I look at one of them and it says fluttering arouser. And I was like, hold on. And I stopped and I started looking and I'm like, this whole top shelf is fucking vibrators. Bro, what? Nice. Now they don't look like dicks. You know what I mean? Like they're not, but they're phallic shaped, but they're not like dicks.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to drive a little further down the road for those. But like, I was just like, no shit. And then right next to that is like the day after pills and like the Vagisil and things like that. So it's like that whole area of the store. But I was like, what?
I love the name Fluttering Arouser because that just sounds like a mistranslation on like some toy that was completely goofed up and you laugh at it.
The kicker though was like about a week ago, dude, I had like she was 80 plus woman come up to me and ask me, can you tell me where to find the KY jelly? I was like, yes ma'am, I'll take you right to it. And I walked her over to the KY jelly and I was like, here you go, here it is. And she's like, thank you. And where can I find a shower cap? And in my head I was like, damn lady, what are you getting into? Like, I might want to watch.
What is the shower? Like, that's the funniest thing, is just like, because you know those things were probably unrelated. But in your mind, when they're shopping for those two specific things, you're like, I want to know how this works together.
Absolutely, dude. It's like, do you get shower caps that are just kind of small so you loop your head up to slide it in there? Or are we talking like, what's going on here?
I need the KY jelly, the shower cap, and suppositories. Never mind, I don't know how this works anymore.
Oh, man. And one other quick funny story, and then Willie, I'm going to ask you, like, what have you been up to and playing?
Dude, I'm enjoying these stories. You can give me.
I just had this guy come up to me and he goes, got any butt thermometers?
Such a tender way to word it. I clipped the bar laughing at that. I just looked over at my waveform.
And I was like, you mean like a like the like when you're sick, you take butt thermometer. When you're sick, you put it up there, see if you got a fever. I think we have them in the baby section. All right, good, because it's for a baby. I feel like you could have approached this whole fucking conversation better. Oh, man.
Well, that's good, because it's for a baby.
So
there are worse ways to approach that conversation. I can think of one. Got anything good for a baby's ass?
Hi, my name's Chris Hansen. Have a seat. What?
Have this whole bench.
That same day, this old man comes up to me and he goes, "Do you know on the way here I got gas for $1.49?" I was like, where the hell did you find that?
This is an old man joke, and I love it. Let's go.
I was like, where the hell did you find gas that cheap at? And he goes, Taco Bell. And I was just like, son of a bitch. And then he goes to turn to walk away, and then he turns around, and I should have known that this was a joke too. I should have known. He turns back around and he goes, "That was just a joke, but this is serious." And he goes, "Did you know that FedEx and UPS are like merging into one company to be like one delivery powerhouse?" I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yep, they're going to be called Fed Up." And then he turned around, he walked away. Didn't even come to my register when he checked out. So like that was the last conversation I had with the dude. He just left, and I was just like, wow. He just hit me with two great dad jokes.
The fucking ghost of Jeff Foxworthy just walked into your life and did a bunch of Southern comedy and left. And Jeff Foxworthy ain't even dead.
You might be a redneck.
Get her done.
Oh man. Yeah.
Here's your
Tater
sign.
Definitely
salad.
interesting working.
Dang it, we weren't going to do the funny one.
They call me Tater Salad. I love Ron White. So like,
Funny as
boys, you been playing anything this week? Like besides the game of the week? Anybody dip their toes into anything else? Like I know personally, I dipped my toes into the game that we have coming up that's won the poll by this time that you hear this. And
I have as well.
why did I do that?
Yeah, you pushed for this game, Dalton. This is when you're like, hey, don't sleep on Outlast, and everybody voted for Outlast, and now you're the one being the biggest baby about it.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I've been thinking about streaming it on Discord, but like, y'all are just gonna be laughing your asses off at me because I'm gonna be like, oh Jesus, 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 fucking Christ, oh God, Jesus, oh God, oh Lord, Jesus, help me, oh Lord, oh God, please help. Like, was it Eddie Murphy's mom falling down the stairs? It just takes 20 minutes. Oh Lord Jesus, oh God, Lord help me. It freaks me the fuck out, dude. Like, so I'll save that story for the Outlast episode itself.
Okay.
There's a reason why it freaks me out so much, and I'll bring that up during the spook season. But what have you guys been playing? What have you been up to?
You just said what the game was. We were going to announce it at the end of the episode. Yeah, it's a poll. We're good.
I've kind of dabbled in a couple different games, but the one that I'm most excited about, and I need to play it some more because I only did like the intro, because it was kind of slow, and I needed to stop playing after I played it for 45 minutes, was Cyberpunk 2077. I finally went ahead and picked that up because I was like, I would like to play some kind of fun open world game. And then I just got through parts of the tutorial, and I was like, all right, I need to take a break. But it seems pretty cool. I just haven't gotten too far into it yet. Like I said, like 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. But like the vibe is there. It's like almost kind of like a Borderlands-y vibe with just the open world. Hopefully you get to the open world part of it soon.
Oh, bro. The beginning part, it does open up a little bit, and then you play, and it's like a few hours in, some major shit happens, and then the fucking title screen comes up, and you're like, that whole thing was the fucking prologue? And then it opens up into like the game,
Okay.
and you're like, and you're at the whole city and the outskirts of the city as you're exploring ground. It's fucking great.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm excited for that.
It pulls a Final Fantasy 1. Huh?
All right, I'll have to push through that intro section a little bit more and get into it because that sounds awesome. And then Willie will be happy to know I've decided to play through episode 1 of Doom like 2 times this week just because I was bored.
Yeah. You still playing on HMP, or did you say because it's the beginning of the game?
I wanted it to be a fun, breezy time, so I'll keep it on Hurt Me Plenty.
Fair enough. Every play style is valid. You just play it the way you enjoy the game the most.
Looking for a bit of the ultra violence.
But one bit of game news that has me excited, and hopefully we can get some groups together for this, is the updates to Phasmophobia.
Oh,
All right,
what's up with Phasmophobia?
I haven't read this yet, so please, I forgot to read it.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was
a major
an
update, version 0.7.0.0. It's called the Apocalypse Update. So they've added in a custom difficulty, so where you can change things and set it to your own likings. Like you can change how much like a sanity pill will restore your starting sanities, how fast your sanity drains, sprint duration, and sprint recharge time. You now have more control over that, so you can
jack that up, please.
Move a little bit faster. And so there's a lot of cool stuff like that. And then like evidence from ghosts can be like edited a little bit and things like that. But the part that has me the most excited, new locations.
Yeah.
So there's first is the Sunny Meadows Mental Institution, which is basically a big old asylum kind of area. This is a big map. But then Sunny Meadows Mental Institution restricted. So what they've done here is it's not only one large location, but it also has 5 small locations in one. So the location selection board will let you select the restricted version, which will put you in one of 5 different smaller segments of the mental institution. So like if you wanted to play on a smaller level, you're good to go as far as that goes. So like instead of us like trying to go around with these crazy big maps, we can just get the 3 of us in, play some in the smaller version of the map, and get that experience in the new location, which I think is pretty dope.
Hell yeah.
And then another new location called Camp Woodwind, which is a smaller version of the Maple Lodge campsite.
Ooh.
All right.
Another outside one. Nice.
Yeah. And then they've made a few adjustments to the ghosts and things that don't apply to us, like being able to report players who are acting like total pieces of shit in game. But since we only play in friendly lobbies, we'll be okay.
Have they added in any of the new gadgets yet that were like in that one
I know what
area
you're
of
talking
the
about.
shelf?
I didn't see anything about new gadgets. I did see that they changed the photo system though, so that they're worth different kinds of rewards now. And they've added new things that you can take photos of. Like you can now get a photo of the dots, like a ghost in dots. You can now take a picture of that for your dollars and evidence, and you can also get a picture of the used crucifix now, which will count towards a photograph. And ghost writing now displays as ghost writing instead of interactions, and the salt pile will give you extra rewards compared to what it used to, like once they've stepped in a pile of salt.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I'm down to try that.
Any new ghost types or new forms
there
of
weren't any
evidence
new
yet?
ghost types that I saw or forms of evidence. Like I might have missed some of it because I frankly read through it pretty fast because I just got so pumped for the new maps. So,
yeah.
But there's a lot of small changes like Goryo now has half the chance of other ghosts to long roam instead of double. So just things like that, like tweaking the meta in the game that I'm less interested in. But a lot of cool stuff, and I'm like really excited to try that new map, especially on the small setting.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I know that like we've had a few people, I think Megan and Jeff, both of them were like, yo, I'm down. So
yeah, so we can get
figure it out sometime.
A full-on TSMP Discord. Jeremy doesn't have a PC. I'd like to get him in on Phasmophobia because I think that'd be funny. But the graphics aren't good enough for him, so never mind.
Yeah, fuck you, Jeremy. Nah, he knows I love him. Yeah, dude, Phasmophobia is a blast, and I'm always up for a new map. Like when they first added the Maple Lodge or whatever that place is, I was like, yes, this fucking place is cool.
It's dope as hell. I love that map.
I love the lodge in theory, but playing it because it's so big is sometimes a bit of a pain. So the idea of a smaller campsite really appeals to me.
I hope they throw in more Easter eggs.
I get lost in the outdoor part. Yes. Oh my god, the campsite Easter egg is like my favorite Easter egg in the game.
And I'm still on the search for the Slender Man one.
No, I'd like to. I haven't seen that either.
Like, apparently, sometimes you can just see him out in the woods off in the distance, and I'm like, dude, that's fucking cool.
But I know Jeff will be pumped to hear about those Phasmophobia updates for sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Hell, I'm pretty pumped. We haven't played in a minute. That seems like a real fun thing to get back to, especially this time of year.
But yeah.
Holy shit.
Other than that, like I said, just Doom and some Cyberpunk, and Trails in the Sky.
Yeah. How about you, Will?
Oh, I found a web app game that I've been really enjoying recently. You know how there's a lot of like Wordle likes where it's a daily puzzle that like updates ever since Wordle became big. I found one called Squaredle, which is at squaredle.app. It's like SQAR. Hold on, let me find the exact address so I don't give it wrong. It's literally square, like SQAREDLE app. And what it is a daily Boggle type puzzle.
I know you've talked to me about it. I didn't realize it was just Boggle. Boggle.
Yep, it's Boggle.
Loser.
Loser. You're a loser.
Whoa.
Oh.
Dude, Boggle's the one that if you don't do it quick enough, it throws it all up at you, right?
No, that's Anticipation.
No,
right?
that is Anticipation, yeah.
Well, damn. What the fuck is...
There's a couple games. Wait, no, isn't it...
Perfection, you're right.
That
Sorry.
shoots
What's
everything
Anticipation? That's a board game. There's so many Asian games.
I don't remember what it's...
I think you're thinking of Anticipation,
Wait for it.
even though Truncate Silence gonna...
You got Truncate Silence, you dumb asshole.
Let's do the time
so that's what's up.
Again.
I watched that the other night for the first time in a long time.
I need to watch it this year. Like, dude, I love Rocky Horror. And before the panini, sorry, that's what we've taken to calling coronavirus around this household.
Panini.
Yeah.
I get it. They always end up mutating. I call it mutating all the time.
Too. But yeah, so before the panini, we would they had a local production of Rocky Horror Picture Show at the theater here, and so that was like a lot of fun to go to. Like, maybe I need to look and see if they're doing it this year because restrictions have really died down a lot. So
yeah,
maybe you can at least do like a masked and waxed one or something.
I
hope so. That'd be fun.
So I like. Oh, go ahead.
I'll say maybe we'll stop interrupting Willie and see if he's played any other games.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I don't play games. No, there was Squaredle. I started talking about my internet went down, so I didn't know how much of that you heard because I couldn't even see you guys on my screen. But like it's like a daily like Boggle like puzzle, and they have like when you get like 1/3 of the words finished, it tells you how many words left start with the letter, and then you get another third of the words finished, it tells you how many words left to use this letter.
Okay.
So like you get a couple clues as you go along, and then it has a huge dictionary of bonus words that like it accepts but doesn't require to solve the puzzle. And there's also a bonus word of the day. So like I just went to the puzzle and saw that you could put in YOLO and just immediately put YOLO for laughs, and it turned out that was the bonus word of the day. So if you get the bonus word of the day, you get an extra free reveal of one of the words, so you can choose to just have it tell you one of them.
Like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, yeah.
That's the word of the day! Yay!
Yay! Oh my goodness. But yeah, so you hate video games, so like did you play any of the other ones?
I played Trails in the Sky. I don't know if you heard of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like a role playing game from the Eastern
I've
Empire.
heard about that in passing, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I probably also played a little Doom. I don't know. I had to work a lot, and then I twisted my ankle while I was working, and now my ankle doesn't work, so I can't do much. So I probably should just sit around and play video games. I keep wanting to play Vampire Survivor, and the things I have left to do in Vampire Survivor all seem like a huge pain in the ass. So I don't.
Well, good news for you on that front. Version 1 of Vampire Survivor is releasing on the 20th of October.
Oh, no shit. Awesome. Yo, tell us what's new in Vampire Survivor then.
I didn't read this one yet. So I just saw this as like news from today that the version 1 is actually coming out. So I think that means it will be officially out of early access. So I didn't read up on it. So. And it's not in a way that I can read it well. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, that's cool. I'll check the patch notes to see if anything super interesting is in it, since you gave us the Phasma summary, but don't wait for me. Just get on with you guys talking about it. If I see something exciting, I'll tell you.
I'll say this week, like I said, I've been watching a lot of movies. Chatting with Megan, like she's been giving me a lot of movie suggestions and stuff. So like one of the ones that she suggested me was Rocky Horror, right? So I watched that. I watched Zombievers.
Yeah, you remember you mentioned that one.
Yeah, and then Repo the Genetic Opera, which tremendous fucking movie. But so last night I watched a movie called The Voices. Have either of you ever seen this? Heard about this?
No, that was blank space for me.
Yeah, it's That's that show where you sing, but everyone's looking away from you, and they buzz in when they think you're good.
Not quite The Voice. The Voice is a movie starring Ryan Reynolds, and he has is it schizophrenia when you hear voices talk to you?
Can be.
It can. Okay, so he has whichever. I don't think they ever really specify, and if they did, I was too freaked out by what else was going on in the movie to realize it at the time. But like. So his dog and his cat talk to him. And his dog's very much like, you're a good guy. You're a good guy, Jerry. Don't worry about it. And the cat's like, you're a fucking asshole, Jerry. You're a fucking piece of shit, Jerry. He's like, anyway, he is like in love with this girl he works with. But there's this other girl who's there who like really digs him, but he can't see it because he's blindly in love with this other girl. Well, he ends up getting the other girl and he's taking her somewhere and they hit a deer. The deer comes in. He ends up killing the girl. And then he ends up killing another girl, and then he kills another girl. And it just like it gets ridiculous. And the whole time, it's one of those movies where like you feel really bad for the main character, but at the same time you were like, "What the fuck are you doing? Just take your medicine. What the fuck are you doing?" It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch. It's kind of a disturbing movie, but I like it. I liked it a lot.
Does that kind of like go on like the American Psycho kind of trip, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of like delusion or whatever.
Yeah, because like, okay, for instance, like when he cuts the girl's head off and then like he calmly just chills in the kitchen and cuts her up, like while he's like whistling and stuff. And then he ends up taking one of his pills because he takes her head and he puts it in the fridge and he shuts the fridge. And all of a sudden she's like, Jerry. And he opens up the fridge and the disembodied head is talking to him. And he takes his medication and he shuts it. When he wakes up, he sees what he's done. He opens up the fridge and sees the fucking rotting head. Not the head he saw the night before. This is now a rotting head in there. And he's super like, oh my God. And he goes and throws up and he ends up like washing all his pills down the sink. And then the next day when he wakes up again, he opens the fridge and she's there, beautiful as ever, talking to him. And she wants a friend. So he has to go get her a friend. Oh yeah, it's fucked. It's a fucked up movie,
yeah.
But I liked it a lot. It was actually really good, and Ryan Reynolds did a great job in it. It reminded me of like one of those movies that he was like he could go do that kind of movie because he had Deadpool money now. You know, like one of those, or it might have been before that. I don't know, but in any case, I watched that. It was really good. Still haven't decided what my October movies are going to be, other than my normal few that I watch, but I'll hash that out when it's actually October.
Yeah, for sure.
So gentlemen, this week we touched on I didn't mean to say touched on. I touched on myself. Now we played Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, or should I say y'all did. I did play some of the beginning to try to refresh myself a little bit, but that was about it. And so I have two Wikipedias pulled up for this. Willie, I believe me and you touched on this a little bit last time, but I'd like to bring it up again. But first, let's knock out some O-dubs.
O-dubs.
The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky is a 2004 role-playing video game developed by Neon Falcom. The game is the first in what later would become known as the Trails series, itself a part of the larger Legend of Heroes series. Trails in the Sky was first released in Japan for Windows, which is the part that was weird to me, was that this was a PC game in Japan.
Yeah.
It was released for Windows in Japan and then was later ported to the PSP, which, speaking of, shout out to our listener Brian, who brought me this dope-ass PSP this week.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I put some custom firmware on this baby.
Hell yeah.
And it is now my emulation station.
Love it, dude. PSP seems so good for that. Like, it seems like I would kind of almost rather have the PSP than the 2DS I have, because like it just seems like a better system. But anyway,
Here's what I found.
It's got a little more power to it.
Shut up, Siri.
But yeah, so it was ported to the PlayStation Portable in 2006. North American video game publisher Xseed Games acquired the rights from Falcom, but did not release it until 2011 due to the game's large amount of text necessary to translate and localize.
Makes sense.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a ton of NPCs in this game, and every time you advance the plot even a little bit, all of their dialogues change.
Yeah, that's some commitment.
Yeah.
to make sure that it's always worth it to talk to people, because it's like they always change what they say to you. A high-definition port to the PlayStation 3 was released in 2012, while a remaster for the PlayStation Vita was released in 2015. Both were only released in Japan. A direct sequel, Trails in the Sky's second chapter, because the FC stands for first chapter, was released in 2006. So basically, what the version that I was playing this time is modders took the Vita version, put it on a computer, ripped all of the voiceover audio out of it, and then made them compatible with the PC version of the game.
That's crazy.
And then released that so you could get the voiceovers for the PC version from the Vita version. It's fucking wild, dude.
That's what I wanted to ask about. So the Vita version was fully voice acted, right?
Yes.
So you've actually got this full, like, they've modded the original games where all of the dialogue, like the Japanese dialogue in the original, or in the Vita release, is backported into the original game, and it still works with the English translation.
Yep. Well,
so you've got, like, English words and Japanese voice. That's so dope,
awesome.
Dude.
It's really cool. They did it for Trails FC and SC. They probably did it for the third too, but I haven't looked into that one.
Does it override any of the actual dub lines that, like, because there's a few combat areas where the characters are voice acted in the original game? Does it override those?
So you can. There is a mod specifically to overwrite the combat voice, but they generally tell you that if you're going to use the voiceover thing, to just turn combat voices off. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind them talking Japanese, and then in the fight themselves, they're like, "All right, let's go," and things. I'm just like, that just makes me think of like Tekken and things like that, where it's like the announcer speaks English and everybody else speaks in Japanese. But yeah, so the other Wikipedia that I had pulled up was the Legend of Heroes. So the Legend of Heroes, known in Japan as Ayu Densetsu, is a series of role-playing games developed by Neon Falcom, starting as a part of the Dragon Slayer series in the late 1980s. This series has evolved into its own decade-spanning interconnected series with 14 entries, including several sub-series. All games in the franchise released since 2004 are part of the Trails sub-series known as Kiseki in Japan. The most recent entry, Legend of Heroes Kiro no Kiseki, was released in 2021. So the first Legend of Heroes game was Dragon Slayer, The Legend of Heroes, and that came out in 1989, right?
A long-running series.
Dragon Slayer 2 came out in 92, and then the games that I have on my PSP, because they were ported, are part of the sub-series known as the Gagharv, which is The Legend of Heroes, A Tear of Vermilion, Legend of Heroes 2, A Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch, and Legend of Heroes 3, Song of the Ocean. Now, I know what you're thinking. Legend of Heroes 2, Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch. No, it's not a hidden object game. It's actually an RPG with a badass title. And then from there, after those games, was when the Trails series started. Okay. So Trails is technically the first game in that series for the Trails part of the games, and then it's also the sixth game? Yeah. Sixth
game in the Legend of Heroes series. Yeah. And then the 11th game in the Dragon Slayer series, essentially.
Because if you click Dragon Slayer, The Legend of Heroes was not the first Dragon Slayer game. Like, they were...
That's so wild.
It's insane, dude. And apparently all the stories are somewhat still interconnected because they're all in the same universe and continent. And it's wild. Absolutely wild. So the idea that I had with this episode was that Nate played through it from the beginning. Willie, you started off from where we were at last time.
So about the middle of chapter 3, I believe.
And I've beaten it. So I was going to leave it like running the ship to you guys as far as game chat goes. That way you can kind of set the flow you want to do, and I'll just hop in and talk about the stuff, you know, that pops out to me as well until we start getting towards the end, and then I'll have definitely more to say about it.
For sure. And the way I see this is, if you want really in-depth chapters, prologue through chapter 3, go listen to the previous episodes. I'm going to kind of dive through the beginning a little bit faster. That way we can get to the end of the game, because we've already done a lot of content on the first part of the game. So don't want to bore you guys too much if you've been a long-time listener and have already listened to it. So, start off.
I would like to hear like your first impressions on the game, and also how you feel about the gameplay and music and stuff like that, because I feel like that's maybe even you have a fresher take on that, whereas the plot we have talked about.
So,
Or would you like to say that?
That's like starting off in the game. The very beginning didn't grab me immediately because I started playing the prologue of the game like several months ago, and then I kind of fell off, and then played it one more time a little bit more, then fell off again until we realized we were doing it for the show, and then I just dove in head first. So it didn't initially grab me like immediately. Like I thought the art style was nice. I thought that the characters that I had met at that point, which were really just Estelle, Joshua, Sherazard, and Cassius, were pretty cool. But like I said, nothing really grabbed me at that point. The combat turned me off a little bit at first because like I'm more of the traditional just turn-based RPG, and this one you got a little bit more of having to deal with like grid-based a little bit.
That was one thing I was curious about, is that I was like, I know he'll dig the story for what it is, and the graphics are very, I call them homey, but they're like charming. They remind me of the days back in the day when RPGs more so looked like that. But it was the combat that I was iffy about with you specifically, because I know you're not into like tactics, you're not into the grid-based thing. And I thought that this was a good, like, it's not really too tactical, but there's a little bit to it with the whole, turn orders and trying to manipulate the turn order and things like that. So I'm curious to hear about, not to interrupt you, I'm very curious to hear about what you thought about the battle system.
Yeah, so like I said at first, like I wasn't like the biggest fan of it. I was like, it's another part that I have to think about what to do because lazy brain wanted to take over. But in the long run, I didn't feel like it really prevented me from doing a lot of what I wanted to do. It's like positioning enemies to where you could hit like with an AoE attack was really satisfying. So if you could knock somebody into a certain square so that your next spell would hit 2 people at once, that ended up being like a really cool thing that you could try to plan out, especially using some of these characters' S breaks later in the game that had like area of effect attacks. It was really cool when you could like line it up right. And so like I actually started really enjoying that aspect to where it wasn't just like, oh cool, I'm casting Firaga, so I know it's going to hit everybody. It's like, no, I got to make sure they're in the correct radius, which felt more like D&D like to me, because you had to have that, whoa, almost dropped my phone, have that whole like area of effect instead of just like, yeah, this is hitting everybody on the screen. So while I didn't dig it at first, it really did grow on me. And then some of the other combat mechanics I've really liked a lot. I like games where you can see the enemies on the map before you get into a battle. Yeah. And this was very prevalent in this. So one thing I really got good at and started manipulating as much as I could was I'm always going to get a preemptive attack on these monsters.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was so good. Because, like, if you get a preemptive attack, it really did set you up for a much easier fight every time. So, like, you could start fighting monsters that were a little bit above your level if you just got behind them and got the first couple strikes in.
Yeah, that preemptive.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons we got shellacked by the first couple treasure chest monsters we met, too, as we were so used to being able to get the drop on the people we fought.
Yeah, that definitely helped me out a lot, that preemptive, because like if you could focus on, like say you had like 3 or 4 enemies, if you could focus on 1 or 2 of them and take them out before they can ever do anything, that immediately increases your chances of survivability.
Yeah,
because there were a few times in this game where like enemies would overwhelm me. You are never overpowered in this game, like, or at least until the end game, when you start getting some really good items and stuff, it starts to feel a little better. But like this game does a really good job of keeping you where you really got to be on your toes for the most part. It does get a little easier once you grind a couple levels, but when you go into a new area, you can't just go fight any fucking thing that you see, because it might stomp your dick in the dirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even when you're like 6 levels above an encounter, sometimes if you get like outnumbered and one guy gets beat up on, or you take a couple bad status effects, you're not just invincible like you are in a level encounter where you're 5 levels too high in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know?
The cool thing this game does is like it kind of caps how much experience you're getting from these fights. So you can't just sit there and grind the same monster until you're level 48 and like just be completely overpowered for the whole game. No, it's like the returns start to diminish as you fight monsters as you level up.
And listeners, if you know more about this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that's a continuing theme throughout the Trails games, because they want them to be very story driven. They don't want you to feel like you have to go grind to be able to enjoy the game. So like it does a good job of giving you experience as you play, especially as you do your bracer quests and things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like it sets you up in a good way, too, because it lets you know that, okay, the game is telling me that I'm at the correct level to progress in the game. I don't have to sit here and think, well, before I go into this next boss fight, do I need to be level 50 or is level 45 good enough? It'll be like, nah, you're not really gaining experience anymore. Go with what you got and fight the boss, kiddo.
Yeah, this month.
I feel like that's cool too, because when you fail a combat, you feel like the order of operations is A, try a different tactic. B, if different tactics didn't work, then maybe try a different equipment setup. C, okay, our orbments aren't good enough. Maybe we need to upgrade our orbments. And then D, maybe we should be grinding for money to get better equipment.
Yeah.
For me,
and
I would say for me, like I never got into a battle that I couldn't win on a rematch or two. Like I might have lost, but I never had to like quit and go back in and readjust everything like equipment or ornaments. I could just do rematch immediately back in, and I got through every fight that way without having to. It was just changing up my battle strategies that really fixed what I was doing wrong.
Yeah. I'd say 90% of the time just approaching it a little differently was what you needed to do. Sorry, Dalton, I keep starting at the same time you do.
No, you're fine. I was trying not to cough at the same time. Also, like, I think it's a bit of a luck of the draw. You know what I mean? Like, you might go into a battle and get your dick kicked in the dirt, but it's because you got affected with a certain status effect. And you run in there the next time and say Joshua doesn't get blinded, then you could actually do damage. You know, that's throughout. Like, there's an item in the game that prevents blindness, and I kept that in one of Josh's slots for almost the entire game because I was like, "Motherfucker, your accuracy is bad enough without being blinded."
For sure, that was definitely a struggle I had with Joshua.
I feel like he was always missing when I was counting on him to get kill shots.
Go in there, like, use your shit on double strike, and he just misses twice in a row. You're like, God damn it! And then Estelle just whacks it with the fucking staff, like wham.
Yeah. Estelle seemed like she could miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Then again, I had, I think, sight materia on her, orbment on her, so she had like a critical chance and like a better accuracy or something like that.
So, with that being said, I'd kind of like to go through in the very briefest terms the first couple chapters of the game, just to kind of set the stage and let people know the characters and everything. So, the prologue is basically you start off with Estelle and Joshua and Cassius, her dad. And Joshua's your adopted brother that Cassius picked up along his journeys at some point and brought home for Estelle's birthday, she thought, one year, which is kind of a cute thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get an achievement after the beginning of it plays, and it's one of the things that Estelle says, and it's, you brought me a present, and he says, yeah, I brought you a present, and then he pulls out Joshua, and she's like, why is my present a boy? And that's the name of the achievement, is why is my present a boy? Yeah. It's tremendous.
And so basically the beginning of the game is you like your character of an age where they can finally start training to be bracers. Like they're just about to take the test to become junior bracers, essentially. And bracers are basically like, well, what's a better way to put it than cops?
They're kind of mercenary / National Guard / cops.
They're like Seed.
Yeah.
They're like very much like Seed. Yeah. Like they're kind of something like, I wouldn't say paramilitary, but that makes it sound like it's a lot more violent than it is. They're more like general peacekeepers, really.
Yeah.
They're like Witchers. They go and they solve problems with monsters and stuff.
Fair.
Yeah. Basically, bracers are like the kind of fire department type. Yeah. More like you call them to get your cat out of a tree.
Yeah. So you're basically doing your bracer training, and your teacher is this lady named Sherazard, who goes by Shara, and she's a dominatrix. She loves her whip.
And an alcoholic.
And an alcoholic. She loves her whip and she loves her booze. I mean, that's what she lives for. And so they send you on these little missions like, oh, let's go help this farm eliminate the monster problem they have. And eventually you get to do all that stuff. And then one day you go home and you're talking to your dad. Your dad gets a letter saying he has to go help with something. He's like, I have to leave the country immediately. Bye. So Dad leaves.
Oh, I have one little comment about that. There's the scene between Cassius and Joshua where Joshua walks on the front porch, Estelle's asleep, and Joshua's like, whatever's going on is serious, isn't it? And Cassius is like, you want a drink, Joshua? And he goes, no thank you. But also, you shouldn't offer booze to children. And I feel like they added that second part into the American version. I bet in the Japanese version, he's just like, no thanks, and they just continue with their conversation because it's just like, whatever. But
there's a lot of offering booze to children in this game.
Yeah, there was. Okay.
And to be fair, like Joshua and Estelle are like 16 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I drank by the time I was 16. So.
Yeah.
I mean, they're old enough to do a fairly physically dangerous job, so they want to have a beer, let them.
So basically, Dad leaves and kind of leaves like 6 jobs for you and Sherazard to kind of split up between you to do. And then the course of doing these jobs, and correct me if I'm kind of blurring the story a little bit, you find out about this is when you find out that the airliner that the dad had gone on has gone missing. And so you kind of finish your bracer tasks there, and this is your hometown, and they're just kind of like, yeah, here's your recommendation so you can go be a bracer in the next town and try to find what happened to Cassius.
One thing that we kind of glanced over, that's just an integral part to later in the game, is the scene in the mayor's house when you go and get the magicite, not magicite, the like the ornament thing for him, right?
Yeah.
But it was like a solid piece of it, and that girl who is in there, I forget what the fake name she gives you, but she's one of the Sky Bandits later on. And she what made me sad about that is because she was so nice to Estelle, and Estelle thought she had a new friend, and they were so happy and everything, and then they fucking hate each other the rest of the game, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. Her name was like Josie.
That's why I picked her for villain of the year last year in the Steam.
Josette.
Josette.
Yeah. And so that's basically chapter, like the prologue, and then you move into chapter. Wait, no, it's not.
Oh, may I venture one quick thing? You mentioned getting a recommendation or whatever. So the goal for the junior bracers, in addition to obviously you want to find out what happened to your dad, is the way to get promoted to a full-time member of the Bracers Guild is you have to get a recommendation from each of the 5 divisions, like main cities areas of the
Bracer Guild. Yeah.
So each of the guilds, you have to transfer to each guild, do jobs for them until they all decide that you're worthy of promotion.
And help me also when I can't remember exactly when you meet characters, because I feel like Olivier comes around sometime soon.
I want to say Olivier was chapter 1.
So then you start chapter 1, which you head to the next region, which is called Bose. And in Bose, you're basically trying to find the missing airliner, because that's where his kind of last scene was, in the town of Bose. And so you start getting these tips, and you start hearing about all these Sky Bandits and things. So you're trying to kind of identify who these Sky Bandits are, where they are, while doing your little bracer tasks, because you get signed up to be a bracer for Bose while you're there. You kind of run through that section. You find the airliner and the Sky Bandits that had taken it, and Dad wasn't on the airliner at that point, apparently. So now we really don't know where Dad is, but you do defeat the Sky Bandits. And the weird thing about it is they seem like they're being, like the leader at least, seems like he's being brainwashed by someone. Not even like brainwashed, but like mind controlled even.
Yeah, because some of the things he says even throws off the people that he's like, that are under him. They're like, boss is being weird, but whatever, we're going to do what he says because his word is law type thing.
And like once you finally, like, he's like the final boss of the chapter basically. Once you beat him, he's like, what do you mean I stole an airliner? What do you mean? That's like the dumbest thing I could do. What are you talking about? Because he like has no memory that this is the orders he was giving his staff to do.
And it's like, that's the first hint that there is something bigger going on. You know what I mean? Like very much and the overarching plot is like, what's causing that?
Yeah.
Like, so, and from there on, then you continue on to
Ruan, yeah.
Ruan.
Yeah, but in this chapter, you do meet Olivier, like Willie said, and Olivier comes out as this big, goofy, flamboyant guy. He reminds me a lot of Sylvando in Final Fantasy. Wow. In Dragon Quest XI.
He's a bit more forward than Sylvando
absolutely.
is, though.
And he's just hitting on everyone. Like
Sylvando's...
Olivier hits on Sherazard, hits on Joshua. He doesn't hit on Estelle, though. Estelle's not his type.
No. Estelle's the only one he doesn't flirt with. I love it.
Yeah, Olivier is such a cool character. Like, I enjoy him a lot. Like, he's just this bardish kind of dude. And like, okay, you expect, when you first meet him, he comes out playing all this music and stuff, and you expect him to be like this bard type character. You expect his weapon to be like a lute or something. Dude rolls up, pulls out a gat, and just shoots the monsters. Like,
yes.
The homie's just got a pistol. and it's awesome.
It's like, this is not what I expect this guy to be, but he rules. He ends up being kind of like a ranged attack kind of guy, so you can have him fighting in the background while like Joshua has to be like right in someone's face. You can have Olivier behind him just shooting his gun like out of the area of danger. It's like a pretty cool combo.
Yeah, the ranged people came in, like, at least for me, came in real handy when you were having to do those battles where you're having to protect somebody who doesn't attack. Like, having that ranged to try to hit those ones in the back before they can sneak up, real helpful.
And then, like, Sherazard kind of has a little bit of range, but, like, she's more of a mid-range, and, like, I think her and Estelle can, like, fight from a couple tiles back, whereas Joshua has to be, like, right next to somebody. Whereas Olivier, he could be, like, 5 squares back and still be able to attack the enemy. But yeah, so like, your party basically through this chapter is Joshua, Estelle, Sherazard, and Olivier.
And Olivier annoys the shit out of both Estelle and Joshua, whereas Shera's just like, oh, I'm gonna fuck with this guy. This is
like
gonna
Sherazard
be great.
drinks him under the table like 3 times in that chapter.
He is constantly miserable with hangovers, and he just keeps on getting up and getting at it with his flowery language and goofy ass romantic demeanor.
But the great thing about him too in that chapter is he's the one that actually comes up with the plan while they're trying to ditch him the whole time. Comes up with the plan to get into the Sky Bandits base. Like without him, they wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the end of chapter 1 when it's just Sherazard and Olivier. When they're talking on the airship, and she's like, "There's something more about you."
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, and he just kind of smiles at her. That's another foreshadow. Like going back and playing through some of this again, I'm like, "Fuck, this game foreshadows a lot as you play through it."
Because Sherazard kind of snuffs it out that he's not just like this traveling bard from however you say it, Erebonia.
Erebonia.
The Erebonian Empire. It's like, you're more than that. So.
Yeah. And we'll talk about later what he is. Actually, so.
And so like at the end of chapter 1, like they're so happy with your job as junior bracers and like how you helped find the Sky Bandits and put an end to their reign of terror, that you get your recommendation from Bose, which leads you into Rouen next, which is a pretty interesting little timeline in the continuity where, so at the beginning of this chapter, Sherazard and Olivier are like he said, took the train back, so you're just Joshua and Estelle for a hot minute at the beginning of this chapter. You end up going to this orphanage where you run into this girl named Chloe. Was it Chloe? Chloe, and she's kind of just a student. And then you find out she knows how to sword fight, and she kind of joins your party through this chapter. But the problem is the orphanage gets burned down in the middle of the night, and you're trying to kind of snuff out who's responsible for this and help Chloe at the same time, because Chloe is really attached to this orphanage and you're trying to help this kid and everything. You end up getting this fun, weird little subplot where you're helping with Chloe's school's play.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love a play within a play in a video game or a movie or a play.
So, like, the whole time was like, but what they decided to do is like, but we're going to gender swap it for equality purposes. And they got the campus to buy into it. So, like, they get Joshua and Estelle to help. And Estelle's playing this big, awesome knight. And then they decide to make Joshua the princess of the story.
Yes, because he makes such a pretty girl.
He actually does. Like, I was kind of looking at the art, and Estelle and Joshua have extremely similar facial features. If you just look at the faces by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you pointed out that I sent a couple screenshots in a row where they were making the exact same facial expression, and you almost could have drawn like the same face with like different hair and chin and stuff. Which is wild, because they are not related. They're not even from the same place.
Yeah. So this chapter kind of like goes over your adventures with Chloe and stuff. And you meet the mayor of Rouen, right, in this chapter?
Just a quick fun fact. Yeah. Sherazard, how old do you think she is?
27, right?
Like 27? What about you, Willie?
I mean, it's an anime-ass game, so even though her accomplishment should put her at around 35, she's probably like 19.
Okay, so it's in the middle of both of you. Sherazard in first chapter and second chapter is 23. Okay. That I would have guessed in the 30s. Like that would have been my guess, was like 30, 31.
I knew she was young because she remembered being a bracer in training when Estelle's mom died.
That makes sense. Yeah, now that you mentioned that.
Because she was training under
didn't happen that
Cassius.
long. Yeah.
Or is it Cassius or Cassius?
That would have been.
I
I've heard it.
always call him Cassius.
Okay. I don't remember the exact plot in this section other than you're trying to...
Chapter 2 was the twisty-wistiest, single, most contained chapter in the game, if I remember
It's the one
right.
where chomebody sets the orphanage
chapter-
on fire,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And so...
Like that.
And you do the school play, and then you find out the whole time that all the money that was going into this school play that they decide to give to help rebuild the orphanage, which is sweet. And then they give her the check, and she leaves, and somebody mugs her while she's leaving with the check.
Yeah. Just like, fuck you. No happiness for you.
Right. Oh, yeah, because... No, wait, that's... Because you find out... This is a different mayor than I was thinking. I was thinking of the mayor from chapter... Maybe the Bose mayor. Dang it. I'm getting confused now. But...
Well, I believe that Josh does the play. Or no. Agate shows up at some point during this.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I played this game so fast, y'all. Like, it all kind of blending together for me. Like, some of the plot points. Like, I played this game within, 4 days, which was stupid. Because I was just into it.
I'm reading the Teresa the Target missing takes place after the Academy Festival as brazen attacks leave Teresa and Krenna unconscious.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I don't even remember who Teresa is.
Oh,
Teresa was the person who ran the...
That's right.
She was the matron of the...
anyway, so what you end up doing here is, I remember... I'm thinking about a later chapter, actually. You end up going... You find her laying unconscious, and you kind of find out that from deductive reasoning that they went to the lighthouse, and you end up having to fight all these people at the lighthouse in order to get to whoever has the money. And at the end, see, why am I thinking this is where you find out the mayor's assistant was there? But I'm thinking of are there two mayors?
There's the assistant of the mayor of Ruin, I think, was there. This is when you first fight the men in black armor, I believe.
Yeah.
I think the other mayor you might be thinking was the mayor of
Okay,
Bose.
that's why I'm getting
lady,
confused. Okay.
Yeah, the mayor of Bose is the nice
See,
lady. Annabelle or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybelle,
so you
something
find
like
that this is the mayor's assistant doing all this. For some reason, the mayor's assistant's the one that had these men burn down the orphanage and all this. And you end up fighting them, and then you end up going back to the mayor's place. And that's when there's parts we've skipped over because you have this black ornament at the same time as well that you got in a letter, and you end up going back to the mayor's house and confront him about this whole thing, saying, "Hey, we know what's up. You're under arrest. Please stop and come with us." And he's like, "No," and he pulls out this ornament that can stop time, essentially. And while he's doing that, your black ornament you've been carrying this whole time just basically disrupts what he's doing, and you beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you have this chase scene where he's has a secret passage out of his mayor's office, and he goes down into his boat, and the royal guard catches up to him and stops him, and that's when the royal guard arrests him.
Right, that's where you meet one homeboy. What the fuck is his name? Oh, pretty boy.
The Colonel?
The Colonel?
Is it Colonel? What was his name? Hold on, I'm looking through a list of characters. You guys can continue. I'll bring it up when I remember.
But this is where you meet the captain of the guard. Because you met the colonel back in an earlier chapter, though. Because, like I said, I was trying to get through these chapters pretty fast, and now I'm kind of getting timeline confusion. But go listen to the previous episodes if you want better details than I'm giving right now. But so you meet the royal guard who takes him into command, and because you helped with this, you get your letter of recommendation from the town of Ruin as well, and then all that good stuff. Because what the mayor was going to do was build, because it was the orphanage was on this really good property, and he was going to start building high-priced condos on there, and have the Duke of the whole, this annoying guy, the Duke, he's a terrible piece of garbage, but he's royalty. He's next in line for the throne.
Dunen von Auslese.
Yeah. And he's trying to convince the Duke to help invest in this project. And the Duke's there and just oh yeah, I love it. The Duke's awful, but his butler, Philip, rules.
His butler's awesome.
Most long-suffering character in the game. I felt bad for him every time I saw him. Just Philip, you deserve so much better.
But we did kind of gloss over this character, Agate, as well, who you meet, at the checkpoint between these two towns, who's, there he's on his own bracer mission, and he helps you fight off some of these weird wolf-like monsters outside of the checkpoint at that night. But moving on from there, like, you get your letter of recommendation, and you can move on into Chapter 3, which takes you into the town of Zeiss. You part ways with Chloe at this point, and it's back down to Joshua and Estelle again, until you get into Zeiss. And then
Agate leaves too, right?
Yeah, Agate leaves you as well.
Yep.
So get to Zeiss, and you start talking to this professor who's in town who knows about all these different orbaments, because Zeiss is this factory town where they like build all the orbaments. They're like the technology capital of the country, and the technology is what sets the whole country of Liberal on the map, basically, because like they are the most technologically advanced country because of everything happening in this town.
And he wants you to meet his granddaughter, right?
Well, his granddaughter you meet first, because like you kind of go into the factory to get into the town, because that's the way you get into the town is through the factory, which is bizarre city planning, but I didn't build it. And so like you meet the the headmaster. Not the right word either, but it's what I'm going to go with of the factory, and he's like, and you talk to him how you want to meet this professor. Chief. Chief is probably the word. Yeah. So you talk to the chief.
He's like,
yeah, he is,
right?
And so you talk to the chief, and you get to he's like, here, this girl is the professor you're asking about, granddaughter. So go with her and talk about the orbament. Blah blah blah. A lot of stuff, but you find out that he can't quite crack what this black orbament does. But what he does find out is like whenever you use any kind of orbament power on it, it can just shut down any kind of orbament power. Like, because he tries to drill into it with using orbament, and it just, like, does not happen. It shuts down his drill and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking intense when they're like, no, this thing pretty much absorbs whatever you hit it with. Like, it's nuts. A quick thing that we glossed over in the first chapter, but it's going to mean something later. When you meet Niall and Dorothy, or Dorothea for the first time, and you go to the tower, and you go up to the top, and everyone's like, oh, this is so pretty. And Josh is like, ready your weapon. There's somebody up here.
Yeah.
And then you find Professor Alba chilling up there. And that's the first time that you meet him. Just wanted to mention that because that's going to come into play later. So, continue.
Yeah, Professor Alba's like this archaeological professor kind of guy, but Josh had sensed him up there. But that's chapter 1 stuff that we kind of went through. Yep. But anyway, so you start to find this meaning of what's going on with this black orbament and all that. Willie, you want to take over story for a minute?
Sure. Let me just look on down at our notes real quick. So let's see. I mean, so this is basically we're still in chapter 3. At this point, it's starting to become pretty obvious too that not only is something going on with regard to the black orbament, but that there's also clearly something going on either with an external force meddling with, or some kind of thing going on within the military and the government of the country. Like, it becomes increasingly obvious that some forces within the country are working against each other. The army starts actively blockading the Brewster's Guild at certain points in time and withholding information and stuff like that, when in the past they had a close relationship. And I just felt like that's important to bring up, because ultimately the main plot is going to be related to big time, issues with that. And I think we've been hitting on the more the larger ones that'll be, the bigger Trails in the Sky plot, but not the end of FC is basically about that, Yeah,
it's basically like it's my description of the ending, and we'll get to that eventually, but it's just like this game, it's almost like if at the end they showed the title screen and then the game started, I would understand, because this game is almost like a huge setup for the rest of the story that they're going to tell.
Yeah.
I do remember at the end of this is when the professor gets kidnapped at some point. And what made me think of the tower with Alba and all that was that the only reason that you know where the professor is because Dorothy thought the big castle or whatever looked interesting, so she took a picture of it, and in that picture you can see the professor. Carnelia Tower. And then I think that's when and there's also like the Laystone Fortress. I'm looking through the guide here to see like what abouts.
Long story short there though is like you meet up with Agate, and the granddaughter turns out to be a party member as well. She helps you out as well. Her name's Tita. And she's like this little 8-year-old, if that, kid that's been working in the Orbit Factory. So basically you team up to break into that basically military fortress to break the grandfather out.
And Tita busts out a motherfucking minigun. Yeah. Like, that little girl's badass.
Half the time it's a minigun, half the time it's a rocket launcher. It's the goddamn adamant rail from Hades.
So you go with those 4 to break the grandfather out, and you eventually do get to him, and you find that he's being guarded by these men in black suits that we kind of briefly skimmed over earlier, who've been a big problem. I'm having trouble with the plot, guys. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I remember
there's so much of it that came so fast too. I'm not sure how easy it is to summarize without saying just play the game, because you run into a bunch of characters and little twists and dead ends.
Yeah,
the guys in black, I believe, are part of the Ouroboros Society, aren't they?
Well, I think they're officially the intelligence
the military.
Division.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You don't hear the phrase Ouroboros Society till the very end of the game.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. I'm having a lot of trouble covering...
Spoiler for something that means nothing to us.
I'm sorry, guys, but I'm actually having a lot of trouble covering just the plot of this game because it does get to be so twisty and turny. But...
We can just jump towards like the stuff that comes out at the ending and pretty much tell people, play it for yourself to get the meat of the matter.
I'm kind of down with that because like, I think the game's super interesting. It's got a great plot. Really play it. I think I kind of want to talk more than trying to cover plot because, like, I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Let's talk about the characters in general a little bit and what they do. So, like, Estelle and Joshua kind of covered. Estelle has this staff. Joshua has these double knives. Scheherazad's the other character we talked about early on who used the whip. Olivier with the guns. Then you meet this really cool character, Agate, who has this broadsword. He's called the Heavy Blade is his nickname because he uses this big-ass sword. And then the next character you meet is my personal favorite, which is Zen. And he's this guy that they make a big deal about being from the East in this game made in Japan. And like there's a scene where he's like, they talk to him, he's like, no, we don't, Zen, do you want chopsticks? Because we know you don't eat with fork and knife in your part of the world. It's like I just like how they made this big deal in this game made in Japan. This guy's like Japanese.
And he's the biggest of all of them.
Oh, yeah, he's like 7 foot tall. He's a beast. I love this dude. He's like the one character that fights with his fists instead of an actual weapon.
Yeah, he's like a monk. He's super cool.
And they call him like the bear.
The immovable Zen.
I want to bring up Scheherazad's S-break.
Yeah.
So when she just like leans in and she like, I don't remember if it's first, like she puts her titties in the, no, it's like she whips him first and then she leans forward and laughs and like shakes her titties like she gets a huge joy out of it and then just starts whipping the fucking shit out of him. And I'm like, at that moment, I'm like, oh yeah, she's a dom. Ain't no doubt about it.
Probably because the move is literally called Sadist's Whip.
Yeah.
And then Vin's the last character you add to your party at any point. Well, Tita actually comes after her, Vin. I don't know. Like I said, I'm losing the plot. So
I was gonna say you meet Zen, but then he joins your party later. Okay. But you meet him on the way to that town.
He's the last permanent party member. Well, permanent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, major party member. He's really cool. The cool thing about this game is like you do eventually get to the final dungeon, and it lets you pick your own party. So my question to you guys is, who was your final party? Because like I ended up having favorites that definitely stayed with me. As soon as I could choose my own party, that was the party.
So
I ended up loving the Chapter 4 party so much that once I got the chance to get them back together, I just put them right back together. So that was Josh, Estelle, Olivier.
Yep, and that was my party as well.
I believe that mine was Josh, Estelle, Zen, and Agate.
I considered Agate, but I probably would have taken Zen out for him because I feel like that was the tank. Or I was trying to decide if I wanted Olivier or Tita because I wanted someone that could fight at a distance and provide like cover and spells and stuff. But I went with Olivier because he's just hardier, whereas Tita felt like the last time she was in the party, she was getting squished like a mosquito every time she did
Tita
anything.
has so low hit points compared to everybody else, and I think that was intentional because she is a child.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes sense. Yeah,
but it was just like it was hard to keep Tita as a viable party member. Like I was happy when I didn't have to play with her anymore, to be honest.
But what was nice to me is that like all of your best weapons and stuff are in the final dungeon.
Yeah, I liked it because like every time I got new, I was like, "This is the ultimate weapon for this character in this game." It just felt so hype whenever you found it.
I didn't end up finding Estelle's. Does she have the one that's elsewhere?
You just
or
didn't
did I
find
just
it.
not
It's in
find
the
it?
dungeon. I found it.
Okay. I think that's the
I
only
got
one I
every single
missed.
characters, even though I only used 4.
Yeah, I just remember that. So right before that, you end up getting into this fight with this dude, and it is a fight that you are absolutely supposed to lose.
Yeah.
Like, he beats the fucking tar out of you, and then just does a really cool backflip off the building, if I remember right, and then just disappears.
Yeah, Lieutenant something or other.
And Josh is like, I know that
Lawrence,
guy.
yeah.
Lawrence, yeah. He's like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know him. And that's when you start. So let's go ahead and fucking rip the Band-Aid off, right? Throughout the entire game, shit just starts getting weird about Josh.
Yeah.
Like I think both of you have mentioned to me in different conversations that like his names of his moves start getting darker. Like he seems to like get weird deja vu when bad shit's happening.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff, right? So then you start seeing things like this where he recognizes this guy but can't quite remember why. And was it, I know there was like the flashback at the end of the game and everything. Does he have amnesia? Is it one of those tropes that weren't really that much of a trope?
It doesn't
back
really
then,
say that he does. He says more that he kind of knows his past, but he has chosen not to share it with Estelle after all this time. And like he says, like at some point he wants to share his past with Estelle.
He definitely was still being actively given amnesia during the plot of the game.
That's right. He was being given it by. So anyway,
yeah.
You just want to jump to that?
Yeah. Okay. So conclusion of the game is basically you stop this military coup to take over the Queen and put in this patsy, which was Duke Doonan, the guy that we kind of mentioned was this just kind of like annoying idiot, just so the military would actually have control of the government because they could just get him to do whatever they wanted. That's really the plot of the game. Essentially, was like a coup attempt.
Yeah.
And Chloe was actually a princess.
And Chloe, the character from earlier, was actually the princess who should be the next ruler, but there's nothing wrong with the queen, so there's no need for it.
Yeah. And basically after all of that, it's like a big plot dump at the end. It's almost like it wraps up, but also leaves trails in the sky. Just other things, that are like I'm sure solved in other games. Yeah. But so Estelle and Joshua are sitting in the palace area of this castle thing that you're at, and Josh gets that thing where he kind of feels weird again, right? And he tells Estelle, I would like some ice cream, or he sends Estelle off to go get something.
No, Estelle does. Estelle's on the verge of confessing her feelings for Joshua because she's fallen in love with him.
That's right. So
she just takes off. She gets really embarrassed and leaves for a long time. And then Joshua's there by himself, and Professor Alba strolls up.
Yeah, and Joshua starts to put it together in his head. He's like, "You're here. You seem to show up every time something bad happens. You seem to just show up magically afterwards. What's it?" And Josh starts to put it together, and then Professor Alba's like, having a hard time remembering shit, Josh? Let me show you what you really are. And dude, it was emotional for me watching this part.
It was intense.
I know you said you kind of saw it coming, but
I didn't see exactly this coming. Like I said, I knew something was up with Josh, and I knew Josh was going to turn out to not be everything we thought he was, and that it's somehow he'd be tied to the bad guys. I kind of saw that one coming from a mile away.
I didn't figure out how direct his involvement was going to be, though. Exactly what his role was.
Yeah, but you get this flashback where you basically found out Josh was this assassin, a child assassin who killed over 100 men, high-ranking military officials and everything. And then he got put on this job to kill this extremely important person who turned out to be Cassius.
Cassius Bright. And
Cassius whipped his ass.
Cassius, dude, this is one thing I always said was Cassius is a bad motherfucker. Yeah. Every time he shows
the coolest part too was once Cassius beat the kid, that meant that he was spoiled as an assassin. So his own squad was coming to take him, and Cassius fights them off, and that's when he adopts Joshua. So this kid who had tried to kill him just minutes ago.
But then you find out that was really all part of the bigger plot because they kind of knew that Cassius would react this way, and so the whole time this was to get this to happen, so they brainwashed Joshua to basically get him to be a spy and get him to report back to them on Cassius's movements.
Yeah, and it's boom, my brain was like, oh shit, I did not expect that. What?
It was buck wild.
Yeah, so the whole time this plot was one, to get a trial run for how Cassius would respond to a coup or some kind of underground thing so they could figure out what he's going to do, and two, to get the black orbiment close to the underground so it could like release a seal on another ancient technology that we don't fully understand what it's going to be yet.
Or what havoc it could wreak.
And that's the real plot of the game there.
Yeah.
And then we get a scene at the end of the game where Joshua finally does confess everything about this meeting to Estelle. And then they lean in for a kiss. And Josh had put this like ether on his lips so that it knocks Estelle out. And he just pieces out, disappears. Joshua's gone. Estelle swears to find Joshua and bring him back to the family. End of game.
Yep. Pretty much. I do want to say that it was very, very touching to me. Like, I know, Nate, you said that you thought it was kind of strange with the whole like brother-sister thing. Like, but in my mind, like, there was no blood relation and they were just raised together. But so I can kind of give it a pass. What made me kind of be like choked up about it the first time that I played it, I didn't cry, but I got like a little, like classy eyed.
Yeah.
Was the part where she is like, he's like, I'm leaving to go solve this. You can't come. I don't want you to be involved in it. I don't want you to get hurt. And she's like, you big dumb idiot. I fucking love you. Don't leave me here by myself.
Yeah.
And she's like, how could you do this to me? Yada, yada, yada. And he grabs her and he kisses. And I couldn't remember if he had like ether type stuff on his lips or if he had something in his mouth that he slipped into her mouth when they kissed. But then he basically tells her that that's going to be kicking in. And when she wakes up, he's not going to be there. And that she's stupid to think he doesn't love her because he's always loved her. He's loved her since the minute he met her. And I was just like, ah! Oh, I'm such a sucker for love. And it's just like, oh, it made me tear up. And then she gets knocked out. She wakes up and he's fucking gone. Well, that's the next. I think that's the start of second chapter is her waking up and being like, "Oh shit!" But yeah, that pretty much that's the end of the game, and it's just like, wow.
So Dalton, I know you already rated the game. What was your rating for the game again?
Did I give it a
10? I think
10?
you might have.
You probably did.
I probably gave it a 10. I'm gonna stick with that. It's real good. I just like there's something about the graphics to this game that just really did it for me.
As hell.
Yeah, and the music. We haven't really touched on the music, but this game's music is freaking phenomenal. Yeah. The guitar work in it is just tremendous. And this is another one of those fight musics that just didn't get old to me.
Yeah. My favorite song, like recurring theme song of the game, was the one where when you were in like a forest area, it had this very mysterious quality to it. It was just, I always got happy and I'd stay in areas longer than I should have just to listen to it for longer.
I think my favorite track was the one Dalton was just humming, which is the ordinary boss fight music.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because it has a sick organ solo that comes in about 1:20, and it's like very deep purple.
So, Willie, did you rate this game when you played it the first time?
I don't remember if I did, actually. I probably gave it a pretty high
now that you
score.
finished it, what would you give it?
Might have. Oh, you're just fishing for me to say something so you can figure out what you want to play.
No, I'm giving it 9. 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay. I was actually going with a 9 also, because, like, it was really, really, really good, and like games like this and Dragon Quest remind me of why I really enjoyed JRPGs back in the day. And even though they feel like such a time investment, like I feel like in the end it paid off, and I'm glad that I played through it. And I'd be very excited to see where we're going next with this.
I'm excited for second chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because this game did just the right amount of closing doors and opening windows that like I'm already ready for the next one.
Yeah. I can agree with that, and it warms my heart that you guys liked this game nearly as much as I did.
It's the best JRPG we've played this year for sure.
Oh, shots fired. I agree though. This game's fucking way better than Final Fantasy.
It 100% is.
It really is. Like it's more put together. The story's better crafted. Yeah. Like I don't know. Everything about this game screams to me. Like, just like you guys said, let's fucking go play the next one. Now, obviously, we're not going to dive right into it, but it is in my list of things to do next year at some point.
Just in terms of writing, I feel like this game didn't ask any questions with the intent of leaving them as loose ends. Like, I feel like anything that it's opened up as a mystery now is going to be followed up on.
Yeah, I feel like the mysteries at the end of this game are going to be followed up on in the next game for sure, and I'm excited to get into those.
What?
There's like, I like Final Fantasy games, but their settings leave a lot of hanging chads on purpose, you know?
Yeah. I believe that first chapter and second chapter are about Estelle and Joshua. Mm-hmm. Trails in the Sky, the third, I think, is like, it has to do with it, but it's also separate. I've read where people say that you can play first chapter, second chapter, and then go straight to the Crossbell series, which is 0 and Azure. and then you can dive into Trails of Cold Steel and all of those fucking games. So it's like there's so many of them, but I don't know if I'd want to skip the third. You know what I mean? It's
I want to play them in order. These games are too good.
Yeah. I'm really interested in getting into SC just because it picks so bang off of where this one leaves off that you can import your save file and start with this like level you had at the end of this game.
Yeah. Like I said, not to spoil too much, but the game starts off with Estelle waking up from that shit that Joshua gave her, and she's like, "What the fuck?" and goes off. So I mean, that's where it is, And I've only played a little bit at the beginning because I was waiting on you guys. So now I'm like, ooh, now we can play it soon. Yeah, that's what's up. So yeah. Let's leave that there. Like we said, if you wanted more in depth, go check out the other ones. But gentlemen, we have a lot of fucking fan questions this week.
Let's roll.
Oh wait, I had one more topic about Trails I wanted to bring up actually, which is just red herrings and stuff that you thought was going to be where it went and then it didn't. So what I wanted to say is I had guesses for at least all the following characters being someone else, and all of my guesses were wrong. Which was, I thought I knew who Lieutenant Lawrence, who the real identity of the princess, what Cassius Bright's role was going to be, and I really had no idea that Alba was going to be anything. So I thought Lawrence was going to turn out to be Cassius.
I had that feeling too for parts of it.
Just because he was masked the whole damn time, and it seemed like the only reason you would do that would be if it was a major...
And he was so much a more badass fighter than anybody else in the game.
Yeah, it was clear that he was way more competent than literally everyone else in the rebellion.
Yeah.
And then I thought that Claudia was going to turn out to be the young maid in the castle, actually.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I just didn't have any. I didn't have anything for Alba. But I thought Bright was either going to turn out to have been Lawrence or to have been working behind the scenes to orchestrate this whole thing. Like, I was absolutely certain that one of the main plot twists was going to be one of the main good guys turning on you. Especially one of the higher ups in the Bracer Guild. It's going to be him, possibly. I thought Agate or Zin, one of them had to turn out to be someone you fought just because they made them look so beefy and badass that you were going to have to bring one of them down at one point.
I thought Agate might be one of the bad guys.
I could still see Agate turning.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I didn't expect anything out of Professor Alba other than him just being a little comic relief when he showed up, and I think they played that perfectly. Yeah. You would never guess that that's the motherfucker who is orchestrating this entire thing with this dark organization and shit, and turns out, no, really it is. It is him. It's this goofy.
For Final Fantasy fans, this would be like if it turned out that the person in charge of Final Fantasy VIII wasn't, the sorceress or Cypher, but it was Raijin and Fujin calling the shots, and that's why they're always there right when everything's about to go down.
Holy shit, that's a good fucking... Yeah, exactly. Well, hell yeah, man. What about you, Nate? Did you have any that just didn't...
I just had some similar feelings to Willie, and like I said, I thought Joshua was going to end up turning in some way, and like that still isn't really confirmed if he's going to go back to being part of that evil organization or not. So that's just something we're going to have to find out in Chapter 2, and I'm excited to do it.
Find out.
My immediate feeling is that I still trust Joshua. I think he's trying to do the right thing. It's just he definitely doesn't want Estelle to get hurt along the way.
Yeah, and I can relate to that.
So, well, for this week,
fan questions.
For this week,
let's funky questions.
I wrote these guys down, and let's hope I didn't miss any this week. But
if it's from Jeremy, that's okay.
No. But this is one that I did miss from last week. Comes in from some bearded buffoon who asked us to create your own Spider-Man villain. Name, design, backstory, powers, go nuts.
Oh. Okay, let me think about this for a minute. I think we all, did any of us pre-plan this one, or are we all going live?
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
So
we had 2 weeks to think about this one too, but I didn't see it until now.
Off the top of my head, the first one that comes to me, Raid Man.
You piece of shit.
Raid Man. And his powers is like he has the same thing like Spider-Man can shoot webs, but he shoots Raid. and he just and he kills Spider-Man. And that's the end of it. Like, it's just Raid Man, and then he can't be stopped, or you can call him Raid In, and he can infuse his lightning bolts with Spider Killer.
If the problem is for me, like with a lot of villains like this, is like the ones that stick out to me in Spider-Man are like a lot of times the animal-based villains, like you have Rhino and Scorpion. Mm-hmm. My brain keeps thinking a great villain for a spider would be a bat, and it's like, I'm basically just picturing Man-Bat. That's all I got. I'm sorry, guys.
That's right.
Man-Bat from the Batman universe is going to
Man-Bat
come
has-
mess with Spider-Man now.
Man-Bat kind of has more Spider-Man villain energy than Batman villain energy in the first place.
Yeah, Batman versus Man-Bat. That's just
Let's see.
writes itself.
Like, I also was kind of hooked on that whole animal thing. And what I was thinking was, this probably already exists, right? There has to be like an even bigger, badder Spider-Man called the Tarantula.
That's a great idea
right?
if it does.
I don't
Dude,
know.
it could be like a tech, an even more tech-based one who's built more in robotics, like kind of cross between Doc Ock and Spider-Man. Like, that's a really cool idea.
Ooh, there could be like a guy, call him like the Raptor, and he runs really fast and has like claws on his boots that he'll like jump and kick you and slice you with the claws on his boots like a Velociraptor would.
The cassowary
I'm
for
gonna
Adam,
eat-
because that's what cassowaries do.
Oh,
The cassowary.
Cassius the Cassowary.
There we go.
Oh, he would have to be named like Cassius Cringe or something like that is his real name, and he's the cassowary. I almost said Cassius Clay. I don't know if that's a name for him.
Oh man.
Then again, there's a character named Jefferson Davis in Spider-Man, so they haven't shied away.
That
from
was a
using
weird
real
choice to
names
me,
before.
but I don't feel like getting into that one. Anyway, so our next question. You're walking down a road at night, and you come across this sign. Which path do you choose? And it's left for Raccoon City or right for Silent Hill.
Jesus Christ, what shitty two options.
I don't know as much about Silent Hill is my problem.
My understanding is Silent Hill tends to be more psychological torment, and I don't need that shit. Just let me hope I can find shotgun shells and fight my way through the zombies. I'm going raccoon.
The whole idea of Silent Hill is that when you go there, basically your worst fucking fears and nightmares manifest inside the town.
Oh yeah, so then let's just go to Raccoon City because I would rather deal with zombies than anything I'm more scared of.
Hopefully, let's all go Raccoon City. We'll Left 4 Dead
Yeah.
it.
All right,
We'll
I'm
just
coach.
Get some weapons.
Who carries the gnome?
Oh, damn it!
I'll carry the gnome.
Nice.
All right.
All right. So our next question, and this one's kind of more of like a question of how we do things to make sure we're prepared for the show. I feel like this one comes in from Adam. How do you guys go about utilizing your game time, both for the show and outside the show? For example, when he's playing an RPG, he likes to break it down into a certain number of save points. Playing to the next chapter is using a walkthrough or a full section of the walkthrough per night. And Adam, I actually really relate to that last point because as I was playing Trails Through the Sky, I had this guide open that just kind of had names of like the Bracer missions in it. So I knew pretty much what order in the Bracer missions I was in. So that really kind of helped me to see where I was in terms of the game. So I wasn't too stressed out about running out of time for this game because I kind of always knew where I was at. And so for things for the games, like for the show, that's kind of what I like to do is like to find a guide that doesn't spoil much and lets me kind of keep track of where I am in the game. I did the same kind of thing for Spider-Man and Batman. But for games that I'm playing just for myself, I don't tend to look at much I just play it as I feel like playing it, because if it's just for me, it's just for me, so who cares how long it takes me?
The guide thing is a huge thing for how we budget our time on the podcast. Usually Nathan will find a guide on somewhere like IGN that has a table of contents, so we can see like what all the chapter titles are. Like we did that for Half-Life. I looked one up on my own when I was doing Doom 3 just to figure out where I was in the game. And then not even read the walkthrough, but just know approximately where I am in terms of percentage of the game complete. Like, that really helps. What else I like to do is panic and do everything in the last 2 to 3 days.
I didn't know if you were going to actually bring that up.
Because I tend to be, I have a lot of anxiety issues, so I tend to just not let myself play any video games until I get a certain point into the game, and then I just end up not playing any games that week because I feel too bad to do it, but not like committing to playing the game yet. So a lot of the times that just kind of ends up being the issue where I'll just eventually say, well, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So 2 straight 8-hour days of Spider-Man ought to get me close enough to talking about it.
About you, Dalton.
And me, so my general philosophy is just try to play an hour every day. Like, just put aside an hour, play it. Now, some of the games that are longer, obviously, let's say if you have a day off, you could dedicate a few hours to sitting down and playing. But like, luckily, like since we've switched to bi-weekly, it's become a lot easier. And then like, especially when we're doing multiple part games, like having a whole month to play through it instead of 2 weeks to play through a 60-hour game or whatever, it helps a lot. Here recently, like if I'm honest, like I've been going to work, and when I get home, I might be in the mood to play video games. Like I might just be in the mood to talk to my friends. You know what I mean? Like it just depends. Now I don't always play the games that are for the show. Like I do try to budget in some time for like I said, I play a lot of Wrestling Empire. It's a blast. If anybody's listening and like you liked No Mercy, or what was the one that you guys had, the WCW one for Nintendo 64? Revenge, yeah. Those, if you liked those games, check out Wrestling Empire, because like it reminds me of that style of wrestling game. But anyway, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't feel like playing whatever game we have for the show, so I just play something else. But if it gets to a point where I feel like, okay, I've got a week and I need to play for the show, the game, then I'll generally just play that game that week. But I typically try to just knock it out a little bit of time every day.
Nice.
Just just put aside some time, And for Adam,
I wish I could say
after your kids are asleep, that's the primo time for you, I'm sure.
I wish I could say I took that approach, but even after we moved to bi-weekly, I still feel like a lot of the games we've been playing, I've done like 80% of my playtime in the 3 days before recording. I mean, sometimes I'll still finish it, like with Yakuza 0, managing to get to the end of
this
it.
game
And
too.
I think, and I got really pretty far in Spider-Man that way as well.
And then you could just finish Spider-Man outside the podcast because you liked it so much. You just kept putting off playing it to begin with.
I didn't realize I wasn't gonna love it. I knew I was gonna like it. I didn't think it would be like my main, like, actual contender for my favorite game we've played far this year.
Nice. All right, next question. I don't really have a great answer for this, so put it more to you guys. Do you have a favorite video game based off a tabletop RPG? And for me, I'll just go ahead and say that I like games that are inspired by tabletop RPGs, like the original Final Fantasy, and games like old school RPGs like that. But to say one that's like based off of a TTRPG, I don't think I have one in that vein exactly.
Well, if you end up liking Cyberpunk 2077... you will like one because that's based off of the tabletop RPG called Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. A lot of D&D games.
I thought you were going to go to the gold box type games for sure.
There's all of those old gold box Dungeons and Dragons games, and then even the ones that are just inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, like Kingdoms of Amalur and things like that. You have the Vampire the Masquerade games.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's Vampire the Masquerade, Redemption, and Bloodlines, which are the two 3D games. And then you have all the other ones that are the visual novel type games based in that. And the Shadowrun games. But do I...
Yeah, my answer was actually going to be the Sega Genesis Shadowrun game.
Nice.
Oh, yeah? I have some Shadowrun games for PC. I just haven't checked them out yet. But if I was going to pick a favorite, probably Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, because that game's obviously, like Nate's over here like, of course, yeah, the vampire game. Yeah, we get it, Dalton.
Well, is that the one where you can play as a, what are they called? What are the
Machiavellian?
The messed up in the head? Yeah, that's the one where you can play as a Machiavellian and like have really crazy, you have met your match this day, stop sign type dialogue choices.
Yeah.
Malkavian.
Yes, that's it. Not Machiavellian. Yeah,
you got me close enough that I knew where we were going.
Yeah, they're batshit insane, and their dialogue choices are fucking hilarious. Because it'll be like, "No, you cannot have my cheese, you dire wench," and the person will be like, yeah, okay, so just go back over to this place and do it." But yeah, that game's great. Janky as fuck, but definitely get the patch. Those like the fan-made patch that fixes all the shit that was wrong with it, like you do with Bethesda games. And that's why I felt at home in that game. Like it reminded me of a Bethesda game. I was like, nice and janky. That's just how I like my PC games.
I'd also say, like, I think NetHack runs kind of a modified AD&D second edition rules under the hood, and that's a really fun game as well. That's like it's the king of roguelikes. Let's be real.
I agree. NetHack's the shit. Nate's taking a swig, so I'll ask the next one while he's taking a swig. This one's from Brian. I'm curious how you folks feel about Brutal Legend. The idea of what it was and what it could have been feels kind of shitty. What do you like about the game, and what would you change about it to improve upon it? Nate, you've played Brutal Legend,
Yeah,
correct?
I've put about 14 hours into it before I got to the point where I was fed up and couldn't take it anymore. There was so much about that game that I really, really liked. I thought that the beginning of the game was great. It kind of introduces itself to you as a hack and slash type game where you're just going to have your electric guitar and all this kind of stuff.
And you play as Jack Black.
You play as Jack Black, which is fan-freaking-tastic. You run into literal Ozzy Osbourne is in hell. Like, it's so much of the stuff is like super cool. And like, even I thought the vehicle driving sections of the game were really fun. But then the problem with it, and it got to the point where I couldn't get past these sections because it's just not my style of game, is it introduces a real-time strategy sections into the game. And they just got too exhausting and too much effort for me. And I just couldn't do it. Like, if this game had just stayed between like that driving part and the hack and slash, I would have loved to this game and finished it all the way through, but I couldn't wrap myself into the weird, and it created its own style of RTS2, which I think didn't help me because like I just couldn't ever wrap my brain around it fully.
Yeah, in my experience with it, I rented it back in the day on PlayStation 3, and it didn't run the greatest on PlayStation 3. I really enjoyed the hack and slash stuff, and the RTS threw me off. Now, as far as what would I do to make it better, I would have cut the RTS stuff, like you said, and kept it as a hack and slash game, and then maybe done a spin-off for the RTS stuff. I'd have kept that as its own separate thing, because it has some cool ideas.
Brutal Tactics.
There you go. Fucking what the hell, whatever company made that game. It took us 10 seconds. Willie came up with a better fucking idea.
It was Double Fine.
Studios, or was that before they...
Oh, man. Well, there you go. This is like their one miss that I can think of.
The wildest thing to me about Brutal Legend, and my main comment on the game was, I am absolutely stunned that Jack Black did not have that much creative input on the game, because it honestly seems like someone had written his perfect game and then let him write it.
Yeah. I agree, because
like the fact that the Double Fine genius wrote all of it basically himself is crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think if they ever did tried to bring that back, back in black, if you will, they could do it, but they would have to cut the RTS stuff out. I think they ought to just take it and make it what it should have been.
I mean, I think maybe even an idea would be to do another genre-hopping game, but just do completely different genres this time. Just say, like, give us another chance. I mean, it's already kind of a title that has a little bit of a poison to it, but, yeah.
Doom meets Farming Simulator.
I need to open Unity now. Give me 7 months.
Oh, fantastic. So this next one comes in from Adam, who wants to know what are our predictions for Part 2 of Trails in the Sky. Will certain characters return? Will Estelle finally confess her feelings? Will everyone else have Scheherazade as the best Trails waifu? Find out next time on Trails in the Sky.
Dragon Ball Z.
Go ahead, somebody else.
So I was also thinking of the thing from I think it was SpongeBob. Why are we asking so many questions? Will a certain character return? I'm almost sure of it. I'm pretty sure he is part of the artwork for the game. Will Estelle finally confess her feelings? That's a good question. I'm going to assume so, but maybe not. Maybe that's just something that never happens. Although I do think that, doesn't she do it at the end of the first game?
Yeah, she did.
Or was it?
So
yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So yes, yes, she is going to finally confess her feelings. And will everyone have Scheherazade as the best Trails waifu?
Yes.
I'm really hoping we get more
that would be
competition
good
this time around.
But yeah, I predict we're going to see a lot of the same characters again in the next game. I'm hoping we get Vin back, because that's my guy right there. But yeah, main predictions are we're going to definitely have a Joshua-heavy storyline that we're trying to figure out. We're piecing together a lot more of what Joshua is through Estelle's action and who Estelle parties with through the game. Because I don't think Joshua is going to be in the party at all during this game, unless maybe in the final chapter of this game.
And my prediction was that we find him at about the halfway mark.
I'm going to agree with Willie. I think we're going to find him around the halfway mark, and then probably he's going to be like, why are you here? Because I said I love you. Yeah, well, I love you too. Okay. Mwah. Let's go kick some ass. And then you guys go and do whatever the fuck, like.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that, like, you just run into him. I mean, like, I think you're going to bounce into him a bunch of times in the equivalent of the second chapter, and at the end of it, he'll join back with you permanently. That's my theory. is you will be basically chasing him one step
I
behind
think-
him a lot of the way. Like, I think it's going to be trails
Yeah,
of
so I was thinking you're going to be
Joshua.
following Joshua's footprints a lot. I don't think you're going to run into him till the very end, and I think you might have to fight him.
I think fighting him seems reasonable, actually.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, I have a follow-on question because you said Charizard best waifu. So I have a fan question from
Okay.
Willie Destructo. That question is: pick your JRPG whip babe. Is it Charizard or is it Quistis Tree?
I'm going to go with Charizard on this one, TBH. More like the body. Come on, the body.
Oh, sure. Quistis tall and lean. And I got the hot
Yeah,
for
but
teacher thing.
Charizard's also kind of your teacher, and she thick.
Both of you make very valid points. Charizard's hot, but like I have a thing for pasty white girls.
That's why you love Final Fantasy VIII so much.
Yeah, they're all
Everyone, including the boys, are pasty white girls. in that.
like that porcelain skin look, dude. I love it. I'm gonna go with Quistis. Although, don't get me wrong, I think I would have more fun with Charizard.
You know, Charizard would destroy me, but sign me up.
When you say it that way, I'm starting to see that argument. I was Team Quistis when I brought this up. I'm I'll give him George Wesley.
Crossing whips.
Yeah, never cross the whips. Oh, next one. And this is a doozy of a question from Fenris. Big question. What is your favorite game from each platform from each generation you have played on?
Fuck.
So we're gonna have to go way like we should probably name each platform, and then if you have an answer, say it, and otherwise we'll go on to the next generation because this is gonna be a long one. We have to go way
We'll
back.
start with like
Yep.
NES and stuff. Okay.
I had two systems earlier than NES. I thought
I don't have
worth
anything
bringing
for
up,
Atari
too.
or Commodore, dude. I'm sorry. You can if you want to.
Yeah. If you have them, I don't have any either.
I'd say easily my favorite Atari 2600 game is Yar's Revenge, and my favorite Commodore 64 game is a tie between. Actually, it's a three-way tie. Probably the one I had the most overall gameplay time in was Gorf. I think the one
You
that
can call it golf now. It's fine.
it's frog spelled backwards.
Oh, it is.
The one that I thought I enjoyed trying to play, even though I never was any good at it, was Raid Over Moscow. It was like my first experience with a game that's like Dark Souls level of just keep bashing your head into it and see if you can make some progress. And I think the one that ended up being the most important to me was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was a text adventure that we had for the Commodore, and it got me both into text adventures and into Douglas Adams and like sci-fi comedy.
Can we pause here for 1 second and I go drain the snake? Por
Yeah,
favor,
please.
because I know we got a bunch of questions left. Okay, yeah, I'll be real quick. 1 second.
Now he's taking a piss and his dick's in his hand while he's having a
Question: was it Ryan that I sang the piss song about back in the day, or was it one of you?
It was me!
It was Willie. Okay, I was thinking. I was like, it was either Ryan or Willie. It was one of the two. Willie's going to take
Yeah, while
a
you
piss.
got up, I did a variant of it, but I did it to the tune of Mr. Brightside.
Pissing out of my dick, and I'll be doing just fine.
All right. So let's jump into NES from there, right? Let's go ahead and do NES and Master System together, because...
Yes.
Thank you. Same
Exactly.
generation.
So for NES, I'm going with Castlevania.
Okay.
That's a good pick.
Uh,
Think ultimately it's got to be Mike
Nice.
Tyson's Punch Out for me.
Really?
I feel like my answers to these could change if you asked me this entire list tomorrow. I'll probably give you an entirely different list of like half the games only to be the same.
So NES, Star Tropics.
Gross. Okay.
It was
That's not
one of my
hell of a
favorite
pick.
games as a kid.
I feel you.
That game seems too rude to allow children to have. That game does some mean tricks.
It was just one of the games my dad had on his NES that I played. I don't know. So Master System. Do either of you have a
No,
favorite
I've never
Master
played
System?
Master System.
I think the only Master System game I've ever beaten was Wonder Boy. It was really good. I liked it. I mean, it's basically the same as Adventure Island for the NES, so I already knew what to expect, but I liked it.
So my favorite game for the Sega Master System, to the surprise of no one, is Phantasy Star for the first
Nice.
Phantasy Star. But Wonder Boy and I think it's Wonder Boy 3 Monsterland, Wonder Boy and Monsterland. I think it's like is the one that we played. I don't know if it was. I think it was us. No, it might have been me and Ryan. It was me and Ryan.
Yeah.
It was one of the games where they redid the art style, but you could hit the
Yeah.
buttons and switch back to the way it looked and sounded on the Master System. So good. That game was good enough that I want to eventually spend the money to get the original for Sega Master System and play it on original hardware just to see
Nice.
what it's like, you know. So
If that's the one I think it is. I played the TurboGrafx 16 remake of it, and it was extremely good. If we had to pick a TurboGrafx 16 game, that's the only one I've played for that too. So Wonder Boy, you're batting 2 for 2.
I want to throw this console out next. It's kind of a weird one. I want to throw Game Boy, Game Gear. Same.
Yeah, that's good.
time.
Pokemon Yellow.
Pokemon Red.
Kirby's Pinball.
Oh, okay, not bad.
No Zelda. Impressive. All right.
We just didn't have Link's Awakening. I feel like we would have absolutely loved the shit out of it if we had it, but we didn't grow up with
So
it.
next, that puts us to Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
When I was younger, never would have pictured this.
Genesis, I'm going Comic Zone.
Nice.
Ooh.
I'm trying to think of like a Genesis only game. You know what I'm like? Comic Zone.
Comic Zone was the Genesis. I'm not going to pick exclusives. I was thinking to pick a Street Fighter 2 or Mortal
Nice.
Kombat 2 for Genesis, honestly. So
I was thinking Mortal Kombat 3 for Genesis, so I feel you. And then Super Nintendo, Illusion of Gaia.
Nice. So for me, for SNES, I have Donkey Kong Country.
that makes a lot of
And
sense.
for Genesis,
yeah,
I have
great-
Sonic
great
2.
music. Sonic 2 is probably the objectively correct pick for best Genesis game. I guess for Super Nintendo,
There must not be an electricity.
like,
I'm not shocked. Sorry, continue.
this sucks because I didn't end up playing it on Super Nintendo. I actually played this game on PlayStation 1, which is arguably the worst way to play it, but Chrono Trigger.
Ooh.
For Sega Genesis, I mean, it does feel bad going for an arcade port for your
No, it
best game
doesn't.
for a system, so...
That's what it is. It's what it is, because I feel it completely.
yeah, I mean, there were just too many summer break vacation evenings with big glasses of lemonade alternating between playing Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 and going out to the above ground pool. Like, such formative memories for me. Just such gaming salad years.
If it makes you feel better about Chrono Trigger, I didn't play that until the DS version. So
Yeah.
I didn't experience that till
But it was also famously it was one of the most expensive games to get your hand on even back in the day before the PlayStation version came out. It was like one of those cartridges that already cost like $110 when you could get like Mario World for 50 cents.
Woo, man.
Our,
That's, it's weird about that. Sorry, just real quick, is that the DS version that I have, I bought for like $35, and that motherfucker's like worth like $90 now or something stupid. Like the price is going up on that thing too. I'm like, why?
That's wild.
Anyways,
yeah, so I think we could slip like Game Boy Advance in here. Is there another like handheld that sits in that same category, or is Game Boy Advance kind of by itself?
I mean, I had a Game Gear at some point.
Give us a Game Gear game if you have any interesting ones. They were basically Master System games.
Pretty much. I had a Power Rangers game that I really, really liked as a kid on Game Gear. So I would go with that. I don't remember the name of it, though. I think it's Power Rangers the movie, actually.
My GB
I feel like the GBA deserves to be broken out, though, for sure.
My GBA game is Castlevania Circle of the Moon.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's pretty close to what mine was, which is going to be Metroid Fusion.
Word.
Metroid Fusion was like one of those games that made me say, like, first off, I didn't really love the NES Metroid growing up. That was the first Metroid that I played all the way through, and I was like, damn, I can see why people love these games. And I played it with earphones in too, and believe me, that game benefits so much from having headphones in compared to playing it on the little tiny speakers, because it makes such great use of the stereo audio and the horror elements of the Metroid series. Like, I feel like Metroid Dread is definitely an attempt to return to the form of Fusion in a lot of ways.
If I were to pick a Game Boy Advance game, then my answer would be different. The games that I played the most on my Game Boy Advance was Pokemon Gold.
That was Game Boy Color, actually.
It was like no.
We didn't leave a color category.
I know
though.
that. I know, but that was the game I played the most in my Advance.
you.
Was because I could make the screen bigger, and my blind ass could see it better.
Yeah, you could stretch it.
Yeah, and that was like that's why I don't think I mind stretched graphics these days, because I'm like, my Game Boy was stretched almost the entire time I was playing Pokemon. But
oh yeah, I would constantly use that thing to stretch out Mario Land, because that game was had such the tiniest sprites, the original Mario Land.
God, I liked Mario Land a lot when I used to play it.
Short but sweet.
The Game Boy Advance game that I really, really liked, though, that I had, Earthworm Jim 2. Or it might have been the first Earthworm Jim. It was one of them. But it looked so good on the Game Boy Advance.
I swear to God, I was absolutely certain you were going to be like the one person that played and loved Golden Sun. Like, I swear I thought that's what you were going to say.
That's on my list of things to emulate eventually, is because I've heard Golden Sun's really good. If that makes you like feel that you were somewhat justified in thinking that.
Nice.
I just like you've pulled for some epic RPGs that I've never played before, and that seemed like one that would be up your alley.
Nice. I guess that brings us into the Nintendo 64 PlayStation era, huh?
Okay.
This is where it's going to start getting real hard for me.
there's just
I have my answer, so I've decided to plan for this question. So for Nintendo 64, my favorite Nintendo 64 game is WCW NWO Revenge. It's fantastic, a great video game. There's not going to be another wrestling game that ever tops it for me. For PlayStation, I went with Final Fantasy VIII.
Okay, great answers. Definitely two of the ones I'm already considering for mine.
Oh, man. Nintendo 64, I'm going to go Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Original PlayStation.
That's
oh
a
my
big
God.
cat. That's a big library, I feel. The struggle.
Yeah, and
I feel like my PS1 answer is going
I
to be
thought your
weird.
PS1 was going to be Symphony of the Night, to be honest.
That was my very first thought, but
Okay.
I just realized that's not it.
I got to think, Willie, so you go ahead, unless you...
All right. My Nintendo 64 game, I think, is going to be
That's a
Star
good
Fox 64, because that was one of the ones we got first, and it just really showed us like the amazing difference between like the 16-bit era and the current generation of games. Like, it looked so ridiculous. Seeing those reflections over the water at the start were amazing, and I still think a lot of the visuals and gameplay hold up. Whereas a lot of N64 games have really horrible FPS or otherwise, just seem a little ridiculous. My PlayStation 1 game is going to be Dance Dance Revolution
nice.
Canonics.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, you tore up that pad,
Like, that
bro.
I tore up several pads playing that game.
I love some DDR.
If I just saved up to buy an actual good pad instead of buying the $20 one that was made in our country,
Good shout, bro. DDR games are a blast. That's the first.
I thought about going with DDR Max 2 as my pick for best PS2 game, but PS2 is going to be such a stacked game case that I don't think that's even going to make my top 10. So I figured this would be where I get my DDR shout out.
I wish I could remember which DDR game it was that I heard the whistle song for the first time. Blow my whistle,
That was
baby.
probably Max 2. That was Max 2 for
Open
PlayStation
up and
2.
put it
Unless
in.
you played it in arcade.
Let's begin.
Let's
Yeah, it's
begin.
such a good fucking song. We're all dancing. Yeah. Man, fuck me. My favorite PlayStation game. Okay, so
He's going to have used all that time and he's just going to blanket say medieval.
no, no, because my heart goes with like Tomb Raider, but I feel like those continued on and like lived on, and I know that doesn't make sense, but in my mind, I'm like trying to think of something that was like strictly made its impact on PlayStation. But then again, the other one that comes to my mind is Siphon Filter.
Oh, wow.
But I'm gonna go the original Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Metal Gear, Snake. God, I'll never forget.
Does Snake say snake to himself very often?
Oh, I don't know. I'll know, dude. I talk about this every time I talk about Metal Gear. I don't care.
A solid snake.
When David Hayter was on Factory Sealed, and I got my question answered, and they were like, "This next question comes from Dalton Suter," and he went, "Dalton Suter," in Snake's voice. I fucking jizzed my pants. It's the coolest thing ever.
All right. I guess this brings us to a difficult era as well. GameCube, PlayStation 2,
And Xbox.
I get Xbox 3. Xbox One original, yeah.
Damn, I know.
See, we weren't really Xbox in our house. We mostly had PlayStation.
I'll go ahead and say I can go ahead and jump to my Xbox answer then, which is just I always played the original Halo at other people's places whenever we had Xboxes around. If I throw sticky grenades at each other or play rocket launchers at Longest Yard, either way, just dumb, stupid fun.
I can throw out Xbox if you'd like to get that out of the way. So I have a cheat answer and a regular answer. So my cheat answer is Conquer Live and Reloaded because it was a remastered version of Conquer's For Bad Fur Day.
I feel like that's acceptable, actually, because that one was substantially different.
But the best snowboarding game that I ever played, barring SSX Tricky, because SSX Tricky is a god among gods, in my opinion. The best snowboarding game that I ever played was on the Xbox, and it was called Amped. I think it was Amped. It was either Amped or Amped 2. I think it was Amped 2 that I had. But you could snowboard, but you could also get a skateboard that had a ski on the bottom of it. So you could ride down and like do kick flips and grind and stuff as well. It was the coolest game, and it died on the first Xbox. Like, I don't know what happened.
That sucks.
It was really good, though.
I feel like snowboarding series don't live very long. Like there were less than 3 games of the Snowboard Kids, of 1080 snowboarding.
I'll go ahead and say that I do not have an answer for Xbox or GameCube because those were 2 consoles I never messed around with much.
Okay.
Oh, I can do my GameCube one immediately too because I only owned a couple GameCube games.
Me too.
This is just obviously the right answer to me. I feel like this would be your answer if you'd had played it at all, Nate. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. It's basically what if the Psycho Mantis scene from Metal Gear Solid 1 was just an entire horror game. Like the entire time the game is messing with you and goofing up your settings and stuff in this very Lovecraft-inspired setting.
It's very much like one of the things that inspired Amnesia.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. Man, my favorite GameCube game, I think I owned 2 games physically for the GameCube. It was because my brother had given me his GameCube, and he gave me Super Mario Sunshine and Super Monkey Ball.
Super Monkey Ball!
Yeah, if I were to get a GameCube, the 5 games that made me want a GameCube were Super Mario Sunshine, Eternal Darkness, Super Monkey Ball, Ikaruga, and Super Smash Bros. Melee. That would have been the games that would have sold me that system, but it just wasn't enough to get to buy it when the PS2 could do everything.
And I think the Wii was out by the time that I played Twilight Princess, but I played it on GameCube. And that was the game that killed my GameCube because I left it on all weekend while I went to camp. And when I came home, my GameCube was, I turned it off, and then when I never turned on again, it never turned on again.
Rip.
But yeah, no, I think, so between those 2 games, Super Mario Sunshine is the better game. Super Monkey Ball is a blast, but Super Mario Sunshine is probably my favorite GameCube game. PS2 though, oh my god, guys!
Yeah, we're all dancing around the Big Daddy, huh?
I could drop my PS2 game because I wasn't as attached to this console as a lot of people. Like I spent a lot of my PS2 years playing Madden games and NCAA football games, but the one video game that was just a game to be a game that really stood out to me was GTA Vice City. Like I love the environment of Vice City. I love the kind of openness that it allows you to do. It's like I never beat the game. I never played the plot of the game. I just ran around and did whatever I felt like doing, which was a really liberating experience in video games at that point.
I had a similar experience the first time that I played Grand Theft Auto 3, because as a kid, you grow up, all games had main menus and things like that. I put Grand Theft Auto 3 on my PlayStation 2. It loaded, and the game started. There was no menu, and it blew my... I remember running into my parents' room and being like, "This game has no menu! It just loaded right into the game! This is madness!" My dad said, "No, this is Sparta," and kicked me in the chest out of the room. But, man, good shout on Vice City. I think there's also an argument.
Actually, I have mine.
Okay, go for it, please, because I'm still thinking.
Now that I've thought of it, this is super easy. This is probably the game I played the most of for the PlayStation 2 somehow, which is wild because there were so many great games. But Guitar Hero 2, baby.
Good shout, too.
Like, that was the best one of the Guitar Hero games because it fixed the problems from 1 without being as ridiculously overcharted and never softed up like 3 was. And then I ended up playing Rock Band on Xbox 360, so spoilers, that's probably going to be my answer for Xbox 360 as well.
PlayStation 2. There's an argument that could be made for San Andreas.
Yeah. Like, I feel like that's the most obvious GTA game for the system. It's just, I ended up spending more time in the actual plot of Vice City, whereas I just used San Andreas as a Havoc simulator.
Oh, yeah, I beat all 3 of them. Like, I loved those games so much.
Wow.
But
I could never get that far into the game's plots. I cared a lot less about crimes and drugs and more about just jacking cars for myself and having a good time. I think that's why we did so much better in Yakuza. It's like, you can only cause so much chaos on the streets. You can, however, play Hang On.
Holy shit, there were so many good games on PlayStation 2. Can I have a tie? Can I get one tie?
Yeah.
Okay, my tie is between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Final Fantasy X.
Yow, that is a tough one. I can see why you couldn't pick.
Yeah, they're both so good for different reasons, but they're both so good. So those are mine.
There's so many console-defining games for the PS2, and those are definitely 2 of them.
All right, so I guess the next era would be Wii, PS3,
Wii, PS3, and 360.
Once again, I have nothing for the 360, and I never had a PS3 either, so I only have a Wii game for you. Because this is like when I was falling hard out of video games for a while. But my Wii pick is going to be Mario Kart Wii, because like that's one game I remember spending hours and hours and hours playing with just me and my wife when we were living in our shitty apartment. And that was just the one game we could play together, and it just brought me so much joy to have that game that She's not a big video game person, but just having the game that I could play with her just really always was special to me. I used tilt controls, baby. She didn't, but she liked the Wii and the nunchuck. But she's a weirdo who held them in the opposite hands you're supposed to.
I held them. I'd used the. I
did you?
Left-handed.
So that's how Kayla did it. Okay.
Too. So yeah.
I
even played Wii Sports like left-handed.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Sports.
Nice.
That's my answer for Wii, because I didn't have a Wii, and I only ever played Wii Sports at my friend's house, like Wii Bowling specifically.
Wii Sports was great.
Was my favorite for Wii.
Wii Sports was such a great pick up and play game, and like you would have people over, and they'd see you had a Wii, and they'd be like, "Hey, you want to do some bowling?" Like it was such a great conversation starter of a system. So yeah, I mean, I'm almost tempted to pick Wii Sports as my game too, but I think it's Super Mario Galaxy too.
We would like to play.
That might.
Yay.
Aw. He's got a little Wii mode, and he's doing the little gesture from the commercial, like where they hold the Wii mode out like it's a business
I wish
card.
I could give you that
so
perfect snap, but yeah. So you said you don't have an Xbox 360.
And I think mine is. I mean, I only had like a handful of Xbox 360 games, so if you don't count stuff I downloaded off XBLA Live or like Arcade or whatever it was, I mean, the only games I put substantial hours into were Dead Rising 1 and Rock Band 2, and I liked Rock Band 2. Like it was the most fun. It was like some of the most fun I ever had with a game.
Okay. My answer for 360, and it's weird because I'm looking at my shelf and I have it for PS3 now, but back in the day I had it for 360. Skate 3.
Nice. That's unsurprising. I know you had that huge nostalgia for it, where you were looking for Skate follow-ups recently.
Yeah, and then now they're doing Skate 4, and it's going to be free to play, and I'm excited, but also real worried because it's going to be free to play. PS3.
I think my PS3 one's going to be a really easy pick too. Give me a half a second. Yeah, it's Gran Turismo 6.
Wow. Okay.
Jeff will be happy to hear that.
It's just like the only PS3. I bought a PS3 with a whole bunch of games, like when it was just out of date, enough that it was pretty cheap to get. And the only games I put any real hours to were Gran Turismo 6 and Dark Souls 2. I got it because that was just when Dark Souls 2 had just come out, and a bunch of people I knew at work were playing it, and so I wanted to kind of join in. But I ended up falling behind them pretty quickly because they were veterans of the Souls games, and I was still pretty new to it. So I was doing kind of newbie strats, whereas they were very confident, and confidence helps a lot in Souls games. So I would say it's Gran Turismo, because if I plugged my PS3 in again today and found a controller for it, the first thing I would want to play is Gran Turismo 6.
Oh.
You ran out of time. Your favorite PS3 game is now Sonic Generations. Deal with it.
Well, as janky as it was on PS3, it gave me enough love for the game that I then rebought it on PC, and it's wonderful, especially with the fan patch, because Bethesda shit's janky. And that I think I'm gonna go with Fallout New Vegas.
Wow. I have that around.
But like, shout out to this game called MAG that used to be on PS3, and it died on PS3 as well. It stood for Massive Action Game. Basically, the reason that I really liked to play it was because it was fucking intense. For the PS3 now, remember this was PS3, and they still haven't really done anything like this since. There was a mode called Domination, and it was teams of 128 on 128.
Ooh.
And dude, there was just so many people. And I got really good with a shotgun, and I would hide in tall grass and lay down. And as people would run by, I would just boom, and I would move to a different section of the tall grass and lay down, and they would come back to try to get me, and I would just boom and kill them again. It was great. And the first person I ever got killed by in that game's name was Catbutt. And I'll always remember that. Got killed by Catbutt.
That's such an online game.
It is, dude. So yeah, that's PS3. So that leads to the because do you guys have favorites for the newest generation?
Well, it's still in their generation before the newest generation.
Yeah, I don't have any current gen consoles.
Yeah, do count the Switch. Like we still haven't done the PS4 Wii U, Xbox whatever phase.
That was Xbox One.
I only have Wii U for this generation, and my Wii U pick is Splatoon. That game is another one of those games that brought me a lot of joy, and one of the few games that Kayla herself ever liked playing a lot, and I got a lot of joy of playing it and watching her play it. She got to be way better at it than me even, so it was like a really cool situation. Like Splatoon is just a fun little game, and like I wish I still liked playing it on the Switch versions. Like 2, I kind of fell off. I got it, but didn't play it much. And then I just can't seem to get myself to want to buy 3 because I don't know that I'm going to play it.
I feel like Splatoon and Breath of the Wild were the games that did the best job of integrating the weird-ass controller that the Wii U had. Like, actually, the gamepad actually made sense for those.
And I didn't have Breath of the Wild on Wii U. I didn't get that till Switch.
Yeah. I only played it on Switch too, but I could immediately see why it would have made sense on the Wii U, you know? I mean, I guess my pick is Mario Maker 1 then.
I don't have much... Oh, go ahead. Wait, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think Mario Maker 2 was probably better all day, except for I missed the mystery mushrooms, because to me it's so fun. Like, I was absolutely delighted when they not only did they put RNO from Game Center CX in there, I was like, there's no way he's going to be in the US version, though. They're just going to replace him with, like, another Mario skin. And I'm like, no, here's this character from a Japanese show that we're not even going to explain to you. He's just here, and he's singing along to the music and stuff, and I loved it. Thank you so much for putting RNO Kacho in there.
I didn't have a Wii U. My only experience with Wii U has been through emulation. Sorry, Nintendo. But I am going to give my vote to the game that I know a lot of people really, really liked, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles.
Nice.
Oh.
It's another, 100-hour RPG at least.
That's your style, buddy.
Yeah, man, you know it.
I didn't consider that because I had that one for the Switch. I forgot that was originally a Wii U one. I also really want to try... Was Kid Icarus Uprising a Wii U game, or was that a 3DS?
Yeah.
Damn.
3DS.
Can we get a Switch port of that? I want to play
I don't have anything for PS4 or Xbox One because I didn't have those systems at all.
I don't think I have nothing for those.
I didn't play too much on the Xbox One. My buddy Kyle had one. He did have the UFC game though. That was a blast. So I'll give it to that because I have UFC on PS4 too, but that's not what's winning PS4. PS4 though. Or Willie, do you have an Xbox One?
No, I really didn't play that much on this generation. I finally started getting into PC games again at this point. Mostly was playing indie games at that point.
Okay. PlayStation 4, to the surprise of absolutely not a single goddamn person listening to this show. You never see it coming. You'll see that my pick is just Persona 5.
No shock there.
It's coming.
And I guess that takes us to current gen, right?
Yeah.
I only have a Switch pick for you because I've only Nintendo and PC now. So Switch pick. It's not going to be a surprise. It's not a Nintendo exclusive. This is Dragon Quest XI. I first played the game on the Switch, and that takes the cake for me.
Okay. Switch game.
Yeah, unfortunately, my most pleasurable times on the Switch were also not Nintendo games, and I think about it. Though I have nothing but love for Breath of the Wild, for Mario Odyssey, and for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Well, I have a lot of opinions about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's a complicated relationship there. But I think the game I ended up playing and just really, this is the game that made me want to play, well, I mean, it's not I was finally happy to have a system that played indie games until I got a computer that could play games again. But it was definitely getting into, I think that was the system that I actually played Hollow Knight on.
Because I got you that for Christmas one year, yeah.
Then I ended up playing Hollow Knight, Hades, and Dead Cells basically back to back and being like, oh shit, games are good.
Those are a few games that will reignite your love for games if you've been struggling to find some games you like.
Exactly. Because before that, I would just been playing whatever the current Switch blockbuster was, and that was it. Playing Breath of the Wild or Odyssey or Smash Bros. And then those games made me go, oh, damn, I need to see what's going on in games. Because I heard about these games, and I know it's supposed to be good.
What's funny to me is other than Odyssey, other than Nintendo only games, all my favorite games I played on Switch are games that I also have on PC now.
Battle Chef Brigade.
And that would be Battle Chef Brigade is definitely up there as one of them. Which, by the way, please put Golf Story on PC.
Yes, please.
You'll make money.
Bro, I'm about to make that a host pick one week, and we're just going to play a Switch game, and I don't give a shit.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Golf Story seems so cool.
Just pick a week where my leg isn't messed up so I can go to work and make enough money to buy a Switch game.
Let's see. So, again, my heart and my brain are telling me two different things. My brain is telling me Ys 8. Ys 8 was the best game that I played on Switch. My heart is telling me, bro, Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force, which was more of it's made by the same people who make the Neptunia games and that style.
I know you really liked Fire Emblem.
I beat that
too at Three Houses. I just made it harder. I'm sorry.
Right. No, you didn't. Actually, you just gave me my answer because that's a Nintendo exclusive. Fire Emblem Three Houses, 100%. It was Fire Emblem meets Persona, and it was exactly what I needed after playing some Persona.
It was like the Persona 5 of Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, it really was. It was fucking fantastic, and I really liked it, and I'm sad I traded it. I wish I still had it so I could play through it again. I'll buy it again one day.
Go.
I'm a little afraid to play both of those games because I know I'm going to get sucked in. Persona and Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like, I know the moment the game get their hooks in, you guys just aren't going to see me again for weeks on end.
I'm sorry, that's eventually going to happen with Persona because it's coming on PC
that's going to have to
next
be like
month.
a 2 or 3
part
yeah.
TBH, because we might have to bring back the short game, Paul, for that week.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I can give you a PS5 one, just the one that I want to play the most. That's an exclusive on PS5 is Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, that looks good. That actually looks really good.
Or Rift Apart. I mean,
I watched a YouTuber play through that, and it looks awesome.
In that case, I can give a best game for PlayStation 4 then, because I never played it, but it was an exclusive, and that's Bloodborne.
Oh,
like that's the only thing that made me actually want to buy a system that generation.
Dude, that's one of those games that people are pining for a port to anything, to PS5, pining for a port to PC. Like they're just like, please fucking do something with Bloodborne.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's, and none of us have anything for the new Xbox system. I don't think.
Do we want to do anything? I mean, I gave a Commodore game. Does anyone want to do like PC games?
That is way too much to ask. We're on a PC game podcast. Here are our opinions about PC games listening to the podcast.
That's true.
Fair.
And we still have a few questions.
Best PC
we
game
still
of
have
all
a few
time
questions to
too.
go through. So this one comes from our buddy Dane. Dane asks, what game have you spent an embarrassingly high number of hours playing that isn't Skyrim, Dalton?
Oblivion.
Boo! No, cop out. No, can't do it. I modded Minecraft until it had Skyrim in it. Fuck off! You can't say Skyrim. You have
then you can't say Doom.
Scrolls this one.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna say Doom.
Ooh.
I'm not embarrassed by the number of hours I have in Doom.
I have a.
Probably.
I'm embarrassed by the time I've spent playing other games.
Do you have an answer for this one? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is my answer to this question. I have over 600 hours in that game. And I don't play it anymore. I haven't played that game in like 2 years. And I have 600 hours into it.
That's because other platform fighters came out and you had more fun playing those. That's actually what I was going to go with, was games that I played a whole bunch of hours in, never got any good at, even though they are theoretically competitive games. It's Brawlhalla and Rocket League, of which I have about a combined 1,000 hours. Although, actually, the original thing I was going to say was Rocket for the PlayStation 2.
That was a fun game, though. I liked that game a lot, honestly.
It was genuinely not a good game, but it was so fun to play that it didn't really matter.
And I just like to be Clever Lang in that game. I remember that specifically.
I like to do the tournaments and play as a little
Spider
Rambo
Rico.
guys. Yeah, little Spider Rico.
I don't know if my answer is going to count because it's a game designed for you to put as much time into it as possible.
What is it?
Final Fantasy XIV.
That counts.
Yeah.
I can't log in right now and hit !playtime, but I can guarantee you it's over 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, just like, because they give it to you by days, and I want to say that I'm at like 70 days or something like that. I put in a lot of fucking time into that game.
Actually, I have one other thing I wanted to say, which was just, God, if I could remember how to sort my games on Steam by hours played. This is library.
Oh, go to your home and then create a new shelf.
Home.
Library.
Home?
Oh, it's library.
It's just library, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the thing I found most embarrassing is that the fact that even though I wasn't playing them actively, like they were obviously they're idle games, I left them running 24 hours. My top 2 games that no other game are going to reach are Adventure Capitalist and Clicker Heroes. They're the only Steam games I have over 1,000 hours in, and nothing is ever going to reach that just because I left them running while I wasn't at the computer because they're idle games.
Yeah. I just want to read you guys out my top row real quick, okay? Fallout 4, 218 hours. Oblivion, 221.4 hours. WWE 2K22, the newest one, 264.2 hours. Black Desert,
Pretty good.
Black Desert Online, 279.7 hours. Cookie Clicker, which I bought within the last year, which this is an idle game, but 358.5 hours. NGU Idle, 518.2 hours. That's an idle game.
I'm so grateful that I mostly played NGO Idle on Congregate, so even if I were to port my file from over there, it wouldn't count for my Steam hours, because, oh my god, that would be my most played game of all time otherwise.
Skyrim, at number 1, 983 hours.
Son.
Now, today, I installed a mod pack that is based around Legacy of the Dragonborn and is made by the person who made my favorite mod pack for Fallout 4. They made one for Skyrim. So now I'm like, well, guess who's diving back into Skyrim eventually? So like, yeah, that'll probably hit 1,000 hours some
I
point.
only have 2 games on Steam above 100 hours, so I've and that's Dragon Quest XI is number 1 at 107 hours, and Phasmophobia at 2 at 100.3 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, my top 10 games for comparison are Phasmo at 73 hours, Dragon Quest XI at 73 hours, NGU Idol at 75 hours, Yakuza 0 at 83 hours, Kerbal Space Program at 105 hours, Team Fortress 2 at 307 hours, Rocket League at 624 hours, Brawlhalla at 755 hours, Clicker Heroes at 1,361, and Adventure Capitalist at 13,075.
Oh, 13,075.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh, holy shit.
No.
I will say my
This is about your
Brawlhalla hours
computer.
are close to yours, but mine's on Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, you just play it on Switch, yeah. You probably have more overall hours, actually. It's just not polluting your Steam database like all my idle games.
Man, we can get off it after this, but I'm honestly shocked at the amount of hours I have in Final Fantasy VII. Then I remember I would leave it on when I go to sleep, but it's at 83.7 hours, and I know I didn't put that much time into Final Fantasy VII.
All right, this is Fenris is asking the hard questions this week, guys. For this one's from Fenris as well. Who is your all-time favorite character from all the video games you have played?
So for each game,
No, I think he just wants to know your favorite video game character of all time.
Oh, the number one all-time character.
Holy shit.
God, I was like, my favorite character in Super Mario Bros. Is the bush that looks like a cloud. My favorite character in Super Mario Bros. 2 was...
I don't think this is a cop-out answer. Mine is very much a mascot character, though. My favorite video game character of all time is Donkey Kong.
I thought you were about to say Sonic the Hedgehog.
Symbolizes so much of video games past to me that he's such an important icon in everything. Yeah. Like one of the greatest arcade games of all time makes a comeback on the Super Nintendo to have a great platforming series, and it's just we need more Donkey Kong now. We need Donkey Kong now more than ever.
Vote for Donkey Kong 2024.
DK.
And his coconut gun, while it fires in spurts, if he shoots you, it's gonna hurt.
Oh my god. Fucking rap is so bad, bro.
It is, but I love it. I don't care.
It's so good, though. It's so bad, it's so good. Like, man, my all-time favorite character. Dude, that is a fucking question, son.
I could see a few different answers for you. I could see you going with, like, the Dragonborn. I could see you going with Lara Croft. Like, there's a bunch of ways I could see you going with it.
I didn't even think about...
Dude, I am absolutely just split 9,000 ways. I don't know if I can answer this one. I might try to come up with a top 10 and name one arbitrarily out of them, but I'm still working on narrowing it down that far.
I know I have at least a top 2, and that would be Lara Croft.
I knew it.
And Geralt.
Geralt, nice. Gerald.
And I've only played The Witcher 3. I just want you to let... Yeah, Gerald.
So here's the thing. Gerald of Rivers doesn't count because he's actually a novels character that the video games are based on books.
Thank you for giving me that cop-out. Lara Croft is my answer.
Boom. That's why I did it, so I could make it easy for you.
Thank you. But then, like, also Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
No.
But Lara Croft. Yeah, I'll go Lara Croft. She's just...
Yeah,
I love
don't blame
her.
me for that at all.
My first love, if you will.
That's Chun-Li. No.
Yeah.
Actually, if...
Nate, do you have any guesses for mine that maybe help
really
me
don't.
try to find a
the
spot?
Octane from Rocket League.
Doom guy?
Yeah.
Doom Guy isn't really a character. He's just a little face at the bottom that goes... "Ah."
Thank you for admitting that. Then it's Duke Nukem.
Ooh. Duke Nukem isn't even my favorite build engine game
I don't
hero.
I don't have a clue for you, honestly. Because I know it's nothing like Master Chief, and I don't think it's like Little Mac, even though that's your favorite old Nintendo game. Like,
I was thinking of Punch-Out characters, but I couldn't even pick a favorite boxer out of that game.
Mike Tyson?
that's not, but he's not a video game character, much like...
I know.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's from boxing.
I could see it being a Street Fighter character, though, like...
God, this is such a tough question.
Blanca.
No one likes Blanca.
I don't know anything about
Dan
Street
likes
Fighter.
Blanca.
All I know about Street Fighter is that my buddy Lenny really fucking liked Street Fighter, and he always used Cody, and he would wreck people.
From Yonkers.
From Yonkers.
Well, congratulations, Fen. You destroyed Willie.
I almost narrowed it down for a second and I lost it. Damn.
Oh, I want to give an honorable mention to Snake.
Snake.
From Metal Gear.
Yeah, if I was going to go for an honorable mention, I think mine would probably be Simon Belmont, because like the Castlevania games are super important to me personally, and I love the original Belmont the best.
Okay, so at this point, well, you just answered the question I was about to ask you. Was Simon or Alucard? But if you like the original Belmont,
Yeah. Well, Alucard's not a Belmont, but it's still Simon.
Well, no, I didn't know. I actually don't know what Alucard's last
Tepes.
name is, but I was just thinking either one of them.
Yeah.
Tepes?
Adrian Fahrenheit Tepish.
All right.
Maybe this is a cop-out answer because we've really only just got to know him after all, but it is really hard not to want to see Kiryu.
I'm actually okay with that answer because I love that cat. He's so cool. And we need to move on to the next questions.
Just his attitude and sense of justice.
He's a paladin.
Really happy.
So our next question, this one is also from Fenris. What is your favorite boss fight ever?
Oh,
yeah,
damn,
Fenris
he's
is
really
heavy
bringing
hitting
the
today
heat
for
today.
sure.
Best boss fight.
He's giving us the Brian treatment from Yabspod. Like, on Yabspod, everybody asks ridiculous questions. Brian comes in with these really fucking, like, introspective questions about me and Jeremy. And it just always takes us off guard. We're like, oh, shit, we actually have to think about things? I don't know if I would consider it my favorite, but it's the first one that comes to my mind when I think of favorites. And I consider this a boss. So in Final Fantasy VIII, when Cid gives you the magical lamp and you use it for the first time and you get thrown into that fight with Diablos, if you don't know to blind him, he's going to fucking wreck you. You know, and I just remember that being a hard boss. But like I said, I don't think that counts though, because that's not really a boss. That's just like an optional thing to do if you want. Which, I mean, who doesn't? But
I think it kind of counts. Like my brain immediately when I think of bosses also goes to RPGs. And I think one that just honestly has stuck with me, and it's the one reason that I honestly think when the Latin music starts and you fight Sephiroth, that one just immediately pops into my head as one of the most iconic moments. Yeah, one of the most iconic moments in video games, period, for me. Even as somebody that doesn't love Final Fantasy VII, that still gets me off, you know?
I think I have an answer.
I think I've come up with answers as well. I have a two-way tie, and you're going to think I'm being a goof because one of them is very, very serious, and one of them very much isn't.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go ahead and just spill mine real quick?
No, I'll go first. My serious pick is the final Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus. Because even in a game where everything you fight is insanely huge, climbing, building, bigger and bigger and bigger, like, that somehow is bigger than all of that. Yeah. In a game where everything is a boss fight, that is a boss fight of boss fights. It's ridiculous.
It's a goddamn mountain. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. The game's great, bro. Good shout. That's another one I wish Sony would port to PC.
Yeah, it's gotten a few like later PlayStation releases, right? Like there's like HD frame uncapped versions,
but dude,
at least.
Just picture this on Steam, right? Mm-hmm. The triple collection of Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. They charge $60 for the three of them. They could charge $60 to $75 for it. People would buy it like a motherfucker.
I never got to play Ico or The Last Guardian, so like I would pay that full price just for a full HD Shadow of the Colossus, just so I could revisit it. I only played the PS2 one.
Yeah, dude.
Then my less serious sounding answer, but also one that I really enjoyed, was in a less than pop, like I wouldn't go obscure, but I would say cult hit level game for the N64. In Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, there is a fight scene where you suddenly take control of a giant mecha, and there's this song with lyrics playing the whole time in the style of like a tokusatsu style theme song.
It was awesome.
It rules, and it's so just unnecessarily awesome that it just still sticks in my head to this day. Music does help, because again, the reason I remember this is because of the Ore wa gorgeous so
no, music is definitely, because like would Sephiroth have been impact on me as he did if it wasn't for the Latin coming in? Probably not.
So I think my answer is there's a fight in Final Fantasy VIII, and I'm having a hard time remembering if it was against Edea or if it was against not Sephiroth, Jesus Christ, Cypher.
Probably wasn't Sephiroth.
I think it was Edea, because I think you're fighting her in sorceress form, and the only thing you can hear is the combat noise and that evils.
Fitos Lisek, Wikos Vinasek.
Just beautiful. That whole song is beautiful, and then she like shifts to her second form, and there's fucking no music. It's just silent, and it's like it really just makes it impactful because it's noticeable that it is just quiet.
Was that the fight against Sorceress Adele?
Yeah, I believe so. Towards I think it's after she leaves Edea, so maybe she was in her sorceress form, and then maybe I don't know. It was one of those fights. I just remember specifically going from just playing the song and the combat music to then just being combat. It's all you could hear.
Yeah,
and it was awesome.
Yeah.
FF8, man, say what you want about how well it all came together, but they never half-assed or went with the obvious answer for anything. Like, they were trying to innovate so hard with every step of the way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on to the next one. This is Dane's to play off that one a little bit. What are the best rivals from a video game? So I have two pairs of rivals that immediately jump out to me, and they have a lot in common because they're both two fighting game rival sets. So Ken and Ryu jumps out immediately as one, because I love their relationship. Like, they're rivals but friends that respect each other. Like, there's no hatred in that rivalry, juxtaposed with the relationship between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, who absolutely hate each other.
Yeah.
This was the first two things that jumped out to me the moment you said rivals. Is it makes me think combat rivals, it makes me think shonen anime, and the very first thing I could think of is those extremely anime-ass relationships between Ryu and Ken and Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Can't beat those. Those are my favorite rival relationships in video games.
I feel like I should come up with my own answer, but it's going to be hard for me to talk.
Fine, then yours is Ryu and Ken, and mine's Scorpion and Sub-Zero. We're just screwing Dalton here.
Cool.
No,
okay, go for it.
And
his is Squall and Cypher. So
mine is Squall and Cypher.
Nice. I was kidding. Oh, yeah. Great.
Absolutely, dude. I love those.
I think
guys.
it's a good call.
That opening cutscene.
The gunblade battle.
They get their scars at the start.
Yeah, fucking epic. It's burned into my brain.
You want to know how we got our scars? It was an FMV.
Oh, all right. This one comes in from Mr. Syllables himself, Jeff. What game do you wish you could experience again for the first time? For me, that's Hollow Knight. That game left such a big impact on me as a game. Like, I did not really care for the art style. Like, when I first looked at it, I was like, I'm not going to like this game. I don't really want to play it. And then I was like running out of games I want to play. And I'm like, everybody gushes about this game, so I'm going to try Hollow Knight out. And I was convinced I was not going to like it. And every moment I spent in the game, I just felt more and more in love with it. And just like, man, I wish I could get that feeling again. That's like, I really want that sequel for Silk Song to come out and be just as good. Like, I'll be so thrilled.
I will never forget that night. That I thought that you would know everything there is to know about Hollow Knight. So I sent you that PlayStation Access video that had the thing about Hollow Knight in it, thinking that you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember doing that. That was so crazy. And you respond with, how the fuck? I never saw that before. It was the little dudes, the little grub guys. You said you had never gone back to that room.
It's so fucked too. It was like, holy shit.
And I was like, oh, I didn't mean to spoil anything. But like, I literally thought you probably knew everything about that game, and that was like one thing that you didn't know, and it was like, oh, damn it.
No, but here's the thing. I don't know if I would have ever found that, because like, once you finish that room, there's not really much room to go back. There's like, it's not a room you traverse through to go to another room. Like, the whole point of that room is to visit that one guy. And like, once you finish that task, I never thought to go back there. But yeah, so it's like, holy shit.
It's quite the dead end.
I will say, as someone who was brought on as an episode, or brought onto a show as an expert for that game too, like, I would never have found the backpack secret in Meppo for the Gauntlet of Doom 2 if it weren't for you guys wandering around trying to figure out where the hell to go next and backing into the backpack, because it's not even tagged as a secret. I would never have known anything was missing there.
Hell yeah.
And both of you found it. I'm like, what the fuck? How do I not know this is here?
Tremendous. What game do I wish I could experience for the first time? So yours is Hollow Knight. Do you have an answer, Lily?
I have a weird answer. If you're asking me, like, if I could play it now, I'm not sure what I would say. I almost wish I could go back and revisit the first time I played this game and just see it through those eyes again, though. Because back at that age, I was a lot more into, like, spaceship stuff, sci-fi, and, like, sci-fi fighter pilot, Star Wars-y type shit. I just wish I could see what it was like experiencing the campaign of Free Space 2 for the first time again. Because I don't know if I'd be as enthusiastic about it playing it today for the first time as I was then, when I completely find it mind-blowing and everything I wanted from a game.
Okay.
It was like, what if TIE Fighter had, like, more advanced gameplay, but still had as good, maybe better of a story. Much better of a story, actually. TIE Fighter was a neat idea that didn't quite... Like, it had the best plot of any of the TIE Fighter type games, but it still suffered from having to fit into the Star Wars canon while still making you important, but also not letting you single-handedly crush the rebels.
Hell yeah.
So you got to fly a mission with Darth Vader as a wingman, so that's tight.
That is tight.
Wait.
So the obvious answer for me is Persona 5, but I'm not going to go with that because I think that's what everybody would guess that I would try to do again. It's like my favorite game. I'm going to harp on something that Willie said earlier. I would love to experience the twist at the end of Shadow of the Colossus again for the first time. For the first time. Damn, my voice just like quit working there.
We have been recording for over 3 hours.
Have we really? Holy shit. So the Shadow of the Colossus, just the twist at the ending. I'm not going to get into it because if you've never played it, I don't want to give it away. But beautiful. It's beautifully done.
Nice. All right. So the next one's also from Jeff, who asks, name a famous artist who you think would be great at creating a video game soundtrack, and which series? Now, I could give a cop-out answer for Guitar Hero, but I won't. So the cop-out I'm going to give is I think Michael Jackson would do a great job composing a soundtrack for a Sonic the Hedgehog game. I'm just kidding. I got to think of one for real, though.
I didn't even make a sound. I just made this very much I'm mad at you face. I forgot to podcast.
I think Mechana, the band that I listen to that does the big space epic things, I think that they could soundtrack like a Mass Effect style game, and it would be really fucking good.
Some of Sora's Wrath type game, too, would probably work really well for them, since that's kind of got that space epic, over-the-top type vibe.
For sure.
The thing is, I think most kind of the games that I play don't really lend themselves to having a specific artist to do, like, a soundtrack for. Like, I think about it, and I'm like, my favorite artists are, like, like Megadeth. Like, what kind of game would they make a soundtrack for? And I'm like, well, they could do, like, a first-person shooter, like a Doom game. Like,
I was about to say, what if Metal Hellsinger didn't already exist?
So, like, I don't have a good answer for this at all.
I think Baby Metal could do a Yakuza game.
Yo, okay.
Because they're very much like weird pop, but with really good heavy guitar. And I feel like that would just fit Yakuza's whole theme of being wacky.
That's a cool idea. Yeah.
Rammstein doing a Doom game.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically not too different from Nine Inch Nails doing Quake, after all.
Fair.
So I kind of hope those answers are good enough, because my brain is pooped out and it's not thinking too hot on that.
We're almost through.
Yeah, I generally started smelling smoke during the favorite character of all time thing, and I haven't recovered from that yet. But there have been too many.
I think the rest of them are
questions.
a little bit easier. So this is from Team Retrogue. So he wants to know if we had the choice of who to have always in party, give or take, or never use these characters in your party. Shara, Chloe, and Tita.
You know what's funny is while playing through the game, I would have said always in party Shara just because I liked how badass she was. But by the very end of the game, I would really have rather had Chloe than pretty much anyone else. In fact, I'm kind of weird it feels weird that I didn't pick Chloe for my final party, except I just got so attached to that last group. Now I think about it, I think I would have rather had Chloe than Olivier. I just didn't make that. The thought didn't cross my mind until now. I didn't seriously take her seriously as a party.
I think it has to do with her being in like kind of like the midpoint of the game. Like she's very much in the middle of the game, and you didn't get to experience much of the later portions of the game with her, so it's easier to kind of forget her there. But my answer is like I would like to always have Shara in the party because she's just a great character. Give or take would have been Chloe, and never in the party would be Tita.
I loved having Tita in the party when she first showed up, but when she came back, she felt like such a liability that I just didn't want her around anymore.
She's an adorable character. She serves her purpose, but really, like, she's not super useful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'd say we've got the exact amount of Tita time that we needed. Yeah. She was awesome when she first showed up. She was a pain in the ass the second time, and there was no way in hell I was taking her through the final.
No.
In the order of the always in party, give or take, never used, I'm gonna go Chloe, Shira,
Nice.
Tita.
Sounds good.
I really liked Chloe too.
Yep.
So same as my.
So I was the only one that wanted
Yes, sir.
Shira. That's fine.
Dude, I really liked Shura until late game, and then I just found I wanted people with area attack.
All right, this next one's from Jeff. What game do you get more competitive with than normal? For me, this really takes over when I play like Smash Brothers and Brawlhalla. I get way too competitive in those games, and that's why I've kind of moved away and kind of retired them from the games that I play on a constant basis because I don't like getting super competitive all the time.
I thought you were going to say
I'm not
kart
that competitive.
racers.
I'm just good.
You play like you're being competitive. I'm not competitive. I just grind so I don't have to be competitive when I play you guys.
I don't know. Like, I don't consider myself a competitive person, but I would say probably like fighting games, UFC games, that style of thing. Like, if someone's kicking my ass over and over and over and over, like, I'm gonna celebrate a bit when I finally beat him. Like, and I don't mean it in like a braggadocious way. It's just finally, it's like, fucking yes, I finally fucking got you. Done. We're not playing anymore. I win.
I think my answer is because I'm kind of middling at this field, like I'm not a great artist. I really try my hardest to draw something that looks pretty good every time we play an art game in like Jackbox type game situations and stuff. So like I will go out of my way to figure out like, okay, how can I use these colors to make something that looks like a video game character people really want? Should I look up reference or is that cheating?
I always look up references when I'm drawing.
Yeah, dude.
Like, if you remember that TKO where I came out with that sick Meat Boy shirt, that was absolutely reference-based. There's no way I was doing
Same
that.
with that one where I drew that little Mac so well.
That was a great one.
All right. That takes us to the next question. Do you have a favorite... This is from Fenris, by the way. Do you have a favorite multiplayer game? Smash Bros, Mass Effects, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Age. I do have a favorite multiplayer game, and it's Phasmophobia.
That's a good pick. I think if it were just the game and it didn't have all the problems public servers had, my pick might actually be Team Fortress 2. Because unless you're getting absolutely stomped, it doesn't really feel that much worse to win or lose. And it's just so cartoony that I can't take the outcome that seriously. And I feel like when you're playing with a mixed team of skills, like that helps a lot too.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna go Phasmophobia as well.
Nice.
We like between just the three of us, we've had such a fucking blast with that game.
And then throw Jeff in and whoever else we can get to play. Paul, I think's played with us a couple times. It's always a good
Dave.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh man.
All right, this one's from Jeff. Down to the final four. Let's go. And I don't have answers for two of them, so we're good. From Jeff, do you like arcadey racing games or realistic racing games more?
Ooh, my answer here is real simple. This is a straight up reverse bell curve. If you're super arcadey or super simulation-y, I'm into that. It's in the middle where I'm not having as much fun. But either give me ridiculous cartoon physics or like a rocket engine or something stupid like that, or else give me like the fine-tuned Gran Turismo, jack up my car and figure out what's wrong with it everywhere along the horsepower pipeline, you know?
Man.
Easy answer for me. I prefer arcadey racing games. I can't stand trying to do the real car stuff. I'm not a car guy, so the goofier it gets, the better for me. Like, I like the arcade car games where you just sit down, put your foot on the wheel, shift your gears, and drive. Like, those are so much fun for me.
Now that I'm thinking about it, though, like Grip and Rocket League are kind of dead in the middle of that curve too, and I feel like because they have realistic physics but unrealistic abilities, and I enjoy that a lot too. So. I don't know.
So
I put those in the arcadey slide.
Judging by
me too.
Judging by Willie's bell curve that we're talking about here, or the reverse bell curve. On one side, I'm putting games like Need for Speed, Midnight Club. All right. The other side, I'm putting Gran Turismo, like Assetto Corsa, and things like that. Now, for Xbox players over here in the arcadey side, you got Forza Horizon. Over here, you have Forza Motorsport. Right. I'm going arcade, like Need for Speed, Midnight Club, Grip, fucking Roll Cage, which is what spawned Grip, Test Drive Off-Road, all these racing games that I've loved over the years have all been more arcade style or arcade ports. Outrun. I actually liked playing Outrun in fucking Yakuza, even though I was awful at it.
Same.
So,
Same as well.
I'm going to go arcadey as well.
Although, not to mention, like, I don't know, like... You say Forza, like I'm immediately like, yeah, that's basically Gran Turismo. I didn't even know Forza Horizon was that arcadey. Like I feel like that midpoint where it's like not quite arcadey or simulation-y. Like I thought that the worst part of the Grand Theft Auto games was driving the cars, which is funny because the main crime that the games are named after is stealing and driving cars.
I'll put Forza Horizon, like say here's your anti-bell curve, here's the middle. I'm gonna put Forza Horizon like here, right? Okay. So it's like it's more arcadey than it is simulation, but it's still like you could jack up the simulation if you wanted to. I just never did. I just want to drive a fucking Hummer through the desert in Mexico in Forza Horizon 5. It's running over cactuses and shit.
Sure, I get it.
Nice. All right. So the next question comes from Fenris, and I have no experience with this series, so I have no answer. Which Citadel do you prefer, Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3?
I don't know what that means.
All right, so I have a slight answer for this because I've watched my friends play through Mass Effect. I only have a little bit of experience with Mass Effect 1. I did like the elevator conversation stuff in Mass Effect 1, even though people hate on it. But I'm going to pick Mass Effect 2. I saw my friends play the most of 3, but what I saw of them play of 2, I really dug it a lot. And his next question that was picked.
My answer is the Comet Observatory from Super Mario Galaxy. Thank you.
Okay. And his next question was piggybacking off of that one. Do you prefer male shepherd or female shepherd? And shepherd is your character, your main character in the game, Nate, just in case you were wondering. I mean, I'm a dude. I typically play RPGs, so like give myself a weird male fantasy type thing going on. So like I typically play as male shepherd. Like in Andromeda, I made a male character, and in Mass Effect 1, Jesus Christ, in Mass Effect 1, I also made a male character, and then usually I do that, unless I'm playing something that's, like Black Desert, where classes and stuff are their sex is set, like a certain class is a certain gender or whatever. But anyway, so I'm gonna say male shepherd.
I'm just gonna vote for fem shep so there can be balance on the podcast.
I will vote for non-binary shep. Let's go. All right.
All the bases covered.
So the final question comes in from Brian. When's D&D happening?
Man, we've been getting this on both shows. Both of them, people were asking like about D&D.
We've talked about a few theoretical games that both of us have ideas for. Like you talked about you wanted to run a Mortal Kombat style D&D game. You've talked about wanting to run something based on the SCP Foundation. Yep. I've wanted to run something set in Spelljammer, and I've just now found out that like last month they came out with a 5th edition Spelljammer, so I wouldn't even have to rig up something based on the old books and stuff.
Hell yeah.
And I could always run Monster of the Week again if we had a party for it.
I don't want to run anything.
I've also... That's fair.
The only reason I say I want to run Spelljammer is because no one else in the world ever thinks about Spelljammer, and I just really want to play in that universe. It sounds like a lot of fun.
See, my problem is like for the Mortal Kombat thing, I need to find a dice rule set to use for that, right? To make it more easy on everyone. Because I think D&D would kind of work, but everyone would have to make monks. And if that was okay, then like whatever, we can work with it. But then
I think Shang Tsung could be classified as a wizard.
That's sorcerer, monk. Whatever, I don't know what that would be called. Shaolin Fist.
Make Baraka like some kind of.
Baraka's kind of a rogue, isn't he?
Yeah, in a way. Johnny Cage is a bard.
Yeah, come to think of it, you could probably, with a little bit of skinning on skills, you could make a lot of cases for. You could run default D&D with just a little homebrew reskinning.
The SCP thing, I think the Call of Cthulhu rules would work for that. With the sanity and all of that.
I still think that's the strongest pick.
My issue is the one that I've always wanted to do, aside with those, is I wanted to run a Pokemon-based D&D campaign where you guys play as trainers and stuff. But I don't know how I would roll like with the stats for that and like how that would be handled.
I know someone who listens to and participates in art for an actual play that uses a Pokemon-based system, so I could ask them like what the system they use for that game looks like. So it might be a homebrew, or it might be, if it's something publicly available, I could try to whip that.
Yeah, please do, because that would be cool. Because then I could start planning that out. Because it's obvious in our Discord that we have a lot of Pokemon fans.
Yeah. And even people that like me that fell off but have youthful nostalgia for it, and every now and then check up to see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
I didn't name any Pokemon games on my list, but Pokemon Snap kind of would have been a top 10 in 64 game, and I thought about Pokemon Pinball before I said Kirby Pinball. And
Pokemon Stadium was great too.
Oh yeah. I like the mini games. The Lickitung eating sushi, and I can get the wasabi, and he runs around like ah.
The answer to when is D&D happening is I'll let you know. I can't give you a definitive answer.
We haven't picked a DM, a system, or a party, let alone a date.
Yeah, release date to be announced.
Well,
but that's to let you know we've been thinking about it. We haven't really discussed it in depth a lot recently, but maybe we should.
now there's interest in it. We should take this to group chat and try to come up with some more definitive ideas moving forward. So
Yeah, when it's not 3 a.m.
I'm freaking tired. House cleaning.
Yeah, it's for the house cleaning. If you would like to find us on social media, we're not really there, but you can find us at facebook.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. Oh yeah, there's my stuff right there. I was scrolled up too high. Really, what is the main thing, because it doesn't matter about Facebook, it doesn't matter about Twitter. You can find us on there, but we're not really on there. Holy shit!
Oh, did I fuck you up? I'm sorry, Dalton. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
All of a sudden, the stuff I was reading was
I just deleted
gone.
like all
I was
the questions from the fans, and it just shot Dalton's lines way up there.
Yeah. First and foremost, if you would please, it really helps us out a lot if you would leave us an iTunes review or a Spotify review. iTunes, give us 5 stars. Spotify, I think it's a thumbs up. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's what it is. Fuck the social media. If you want to really get a hold of us, come hang out with us, chat with us, join the Discord, bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. It always warms our heart when somebody joins and we go to our group chat with the host and we're like, do you know them? You don't know them? I don't know them. We don't know them. Hey, we don't know them.
Yeah.
It's somebody who just found the show. That's awesome. And
tell us how you got there too, because like I've always been delighted to hear that people were like searching for a specific game to listen to a podcast about. Like, if you let us know what game you were looking for or what you were trying to find when you found us, like it just really helps me to know, like, you know, what brings people to our show and what we can continue to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to Megan, because she the other day at work told one of her coworkers about the podcast. And her coworker looked up Steam Machine and saw that we had done Arkham City, and was like, listened to it and immediately apparently loved the show. So shout out. You joined the Discord, and I have to scroll really far to see what your Discord name is. I'm really, really sorry, but it is very late at night. But you know who you are. Shout out to you. And yeah, we appreciate it for sure. Like, it's awesome. The show spreads the best through word of mouth, because I'm awful at social media. I'm really good about being in the Discord though. Yeah. So you definitely come join. Moving on, if you want to find the episodes on the website, you can go to bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast. If you would like to become a Patreon, which we would absolutely love, you can go to patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. It really helps out. And if you donate $10 or more, yes, I gotta forget my own tears here. If you donate $10 or more, you get a shout out each and every single week, like these wonderful people: Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of Juniper, Jeff, the original expendable himself, Mr. Syllables, Old Jeffy Lube, Aris or Adam, shout out to his podcast, Revival and Extinction, James, the Steam Machine Hall, Monitor Hall, and Team Retrog. Go check him out on YouTube. Definitely thank you guys very, very much. What else? Shout out to Yabs Pod, yet another BS podcast, where me and Jeremy talk about bullshit and answer all the questions that are asked by the listeners, and it has been ridiculous lately, the questions that we've been getting. I would like to point out that most of our male listeners in the Discord have been behaving themselves and asking us semi-normal to ridiculous questions. You ladies in our Discord are very, very bad. Very, very naughty. You are very, very naughty. You guys ask the dirtiest things, but we love it. We appreciate it. It's fun time. Yabs Pod, yet another BS podcast. And also shout out to the JRPG Report, which is very much the opposite of Yabs Pod. See, this show is a nice middle ground that I have between Yabs Pod and JRPG Report. Because JRPG Report, it's a weekly JRPG news show. I took this week off because there was a fucking hurricane, but it is a family-friendly show. I keep it clean, squeaky clean over there, and yeah, it's been popping off lately. So it's been fun watching the numbers go up and down and up and down and up and down for that show. Anyways, one last thing I'll plug.
It's funny to hear you on the three different shows too, because JRPG Report is G-rated. This show is like a soft R, and then freaking Yab's Pod is like Cat's the Butthole cut.
Yeah. It really, yeah. Yazpod is definitely like an AO. If it was a video game, it would get slapped with that AO it wouldn't sell. But
it's the DLC from the kind of lewd game you bought on Steam.
Yeah,
you have to download separately from the manufacturer's website.
Yeah, it's the. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, sir. If you want to get
Personally, I don't, because I don't play those games on Steam, but I do sometimes notice those in the descriptions when you're going through a bunch of games for us.
Or Galgun, where it's like, pay $90 and you get the nude version. What? No, dog. I'll just not. Merch link, if you want to get a shirt with our logo on it, and coming soon, I'm going to throw some like Yabspot designs up there since it's just TSMP Productions. tsmpproductions.threadless.com. Grab you some shirts. You also have some of my album covers, which is you can buy my albums at Bandcamp, nilethenightmare.com.
No.
God damn it. nilethenightmare.bandcamp.com. And if you like the show music, check it out. Nate, do you want to plug anything, sir? Willie, do you want to plug anything, sir?
I like turtles.
All right. The poll winner was Outlast 2. So the next time you hear us talk, you're going to hear me just talking about shitting my pants. I hope you all enjoy that. For this week's episode of the Steam Machine Podcast, they're the Destructo Bros. My name is Dalton, and as always, guys, holy shit, it's late. Take it easy.
Savor the victory. We earned it.